Hi, good afternoon, class. How are we doing today?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good.
Hi.
Okay, so I trust that we all had a productive week and we had the opportunity to read the newspapers. Some of us may have gone out to our civic organizations, and we're here today and excited to share. Is Ms. Bullet on track, or did we have overwhelming weeks and we haven't gotten anything done as yet?
Got a lot done this week for me, for sure.
Okay, that's excellent, Patricia. I'm glad some of us had a great week, and I hope that some of us can share. We are surprisingly, and I know this is very quick. We are halfway through this program. Of course, this is only 5 weeks, and the 5th week is review. So we have 2 more chapters left. So it's been a lot of information. It's been very comprehensive. I'm hoping that you are able to comprehend and then retain some information. By now, you should be comfortable with an overview of money laundering, comfortable with an overview of terrorism, aware of the AML laws. You should be familiar with the, I sent the central bank guidelines, and we say that's our Bible in AML, but of course, whichever institution or type of institution, if you work in insurance, of course, you would have looked at the insurance commission's guidelines, or if you're in securities, you would have looked at the Securities Commission guidelines. If you're in gaming, you would have looked at those guidelines. And then by now, you should have gone into your institution and looked at your internal AML policy and ensure that you have the awareness and you are familiar with it. So any struggles so far? Anybody don't even know what the central bank guidelines is or what Ms. Bullet talking about? Anybody don't know what money laundering is by now, or terrorism? Anybody a little bit behind and may need some help? Speak up.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was looking at the it is a lot of reading, a lot of research, and that got me a little overwhelmed thinking of the exam. And I did have a question on the exam, if you don't mind me asking, and you may have mentioned it, but I just wanted to make sure that I have a grasp of what I have to look forward to in the next 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
The exam is structured where there's multiple choice, and you said 7 questions.
Yes,
Sorry,
7
7 essay questions.
Yes.
And is this open book or?
No, it's not.
It's not.
Oh, but it's achievable, so I don't want you to be overwhelmed. And so in the homework, you would have seen that there are 4 choices. So those 4 choices would have come from past exams. Okay, so that'll give you a clear indication of how the questions are structured. So you have to select one from those 4 and submit it, and you should get feedback. A lot of persons sent in homework last night, and so by next week Friday they will get feedback. They will see where they are. They will anything missing will be identified. Normally persons get 100% on the homework. I'm not certain, did anybody get grades back last night?
No,
yeah, I think so some persons got grades back last night, and for the most part, the person seemed to be aware. I think the first question was on the FATF, and they were aware of the task and what was required. Some persons need a little bit more help. They kind of went south and did not get full points. So rather than, if I'm going to give you a grade less than 70%, I send it back to you and I ask you to, I give you an opportunity to redo, because the whole purpose of this is to ensure that, you understand. And so, I don't worry so much about grades. I expect everybody to be successful. And so it's achievable. It's a lot of work, and it's very comprehensive, but it's definitely achievable.
And the essays are 1,000 to 2,000 words.
So for homework, okay.
So for the exam?
No.
Oh.
For the exam, you 10 points. Each question is going to be worth 10 points. And you're required to write a page and a half, no more. And so the reason the homework has such a high word count is we are preparing you for the ICA program. This is the introductory class to the ICA. Then there's intermediates. And so if you were to go on to ICA, the word limit is 3,500 words. So we want to get you into the practice of, doing research and adding extra information to your essay. So you're not shell shocked when you get to ICA and they want 3,500. So it's just for practice purposes.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Bullard, the exam, is that online or we're gonna meet somewhere?
Yeah, it's going to be in person at the Institute. And so closer to the time, you will contact the Institute, because this is a very large class and we have we have 8 classrooms. So primarily they don't want more than 2 to 3 persons in the class at a time. And so you would call in or email and they will give you an appointment to come in and sit the exam.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? So my initial question was, are we comfortable? We had 50%. Are we comfortable with the information that we've gotten so far?
So far,
Sorry.
I am with some of the information. I wasn't able to get much things done this week, but I did study from chapter 1 to chapter 5 this week. But I'm still not comfortable with the poker law. I don't know.
Which law is that?
The poker one. I don't understand it.
Okay, so it's a large body of legislation. It's the fines and the penalties should you not abide by these various laws and recommendations. So if you fail to disclose, then this is the fine or the jail time that you will get. If you fail, if you tip the client off, this is the jail time. When we get to chapter 8, you will see that there are production orders, disclosure orders, persons who have excessive wealth, unexplained wealth, and can't explain it. And so that's what poker is, the Proceeds of Crime Act, and most countries have it in place, and it just describes what the penalties are should you not abide by the laws. And that's all it is. So at this point, your only concern is, what is the penalty if I tip off? And what is the penalty if I fail to disclose? And you will find that once you are onboarded as an employee in the financial service sector, those documents that they give you along with the employee manual to sign, those 2 laws are incorporated in there, and they want you to acknowledge that you have a responsibility to assist with combating money laundering in the financial service sector. Okay, so the laws are 100+ pages. Don't get overwhelmed by it. That's why lawyers make a lot of money. So at this point, we just need to know those 2: failing to disclose and tipping off.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Isn't that the same penalty?
Yeah, and it's the same penalty. And that's a very popular question on the exam. But persons always only get 1 right. I don't know why. I don't know what Ms. Goles do. But persons only get 1. And the 2 questions are there, and always only 1 is correct. So look out for that. Okay? Okay, and so we are halfway through. That means you only have 2 more weeks to attend your civic organization and get your 5%, and participate in these class discussions. Ms. Bullard talk a lot, but y'all gotta shut me up, and these is supposed to be discussion based and provocative discussions. So I want to ensure it's a very large class, and I need to ensure by week 5 I know all of you, and I see the same person speaking up over and over. So please ensure that you touch bases with Ms. Bullard so you can get your full points.
Well, Ms.
like
Bullard,
I said-
I attended Kiwanis this week.
Okay, go ahead and
But
share.
this week it was on Tuesday in Kiwanis of New Providence. but it was their induction and award ceremony. This was like the end of their year. But I did tell them that I will attend next week. But I just wanted to let you know I attended this week.
Okay, great. So you will share your attendance of next week with us then.
So this week didn't count.
I mean,
No.
what happened? It was just, you have to tell us and then we'll let you know if it counted.
No, it was just an award ceremony and they did their new induction. I'll
Okay,
attend
so-
next week to be able to contribute a bit more.
Okay, great. That's great.
Mhm.
Okay, Miss
Yeah,
Paulette,
so-
good afternoon. Who's speaking? How are you
Indira?
speaking? How are you? Are you
Go
there?
go ahead. I'll wait.
Okay, I'm not gonna take up too much of the class time. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so could I share my experience at Toastmasters, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I visited Toastmasters. It's called Pinnacle. This group is called Pinnacle. The meeting was held on September 22nd. Let me give you a brief synopsis of what happened. We had a host. They called this person a sergeant at arms. Then they had a prayer. They had a national anthem and they said the pledge. And then the introduction was done by Nadia Humes. That's the Toastmaster president. And then the acknowledgements of guests was done by Mr. Derek Roll. And in this section right here, I see they dealt with people who are excused or late. At this point, it was 5 persons who were either didn't come to the meeting or they were running late. And then they had a recap of the 15th meeting. The minutes was read by the secretary, Ms. Curry. Then they have a business and education session. And then they had a topic called Level Up. And they had a word of the day. And then they had 2 speeches. One was done by Nadia and Lyndon. And of course, they critiqued the 2 speeches, the 2 individuals who were speaking. And Nadia won over the other guy. And then they just acknowledged the guests and they gave us a opportunity to speak. And they were recruiting. Actually, they having a meeting now, going on now. I told them I couldn't attend because they have to be in class because they're trying to recruit me right there and then. And then I was there.
Okay, so what did they talk about?
Leveling up. You can level up on your education, your finances. And then they had the 2 speeches. Now I only can remember what Lyndon spoke about. Because Nadia was, I had zoned out when Nadia was speaking. He was just talking about leadership in general and how to be a good leader, etc., etc. A Lyndon guy. That's basically it.
Okay, and so did you find this meeting beneficial?
It was interesting at first, but it's like it was too long for me.
Okay, and so
My
did you say-
attention span, if it can't keep me hold up too long. It can't be one place too long. So
Okay,
it was yeah. This meeting lasts about 2 hours, give or take.
okay. And
Yeah.
so,
But I'll go back. I am considering to join. Believe you not,
okay,
because
so-
I know quite a lot of Toastmasters, people who are in Toastmasters. So I'm not sure yet. But they
Okay.
invite me to another meeting. They're trying to recruit me today, actually.
Okay, so did you introduce yourself?
Yes, I did.
Okay, did you meet anybody? Did you network? Get any
Um,
numbers?
I met no. But I know the person who invited me, we're trying to do all of that. But I tell them right now they wanted me to sign the guest book. I didn't for a particular reason because I know there's to be bamboozling me. But I know how to get in contact with them because, like I said, I know Nadia's the president. Derek Rule is there. And Toastmaster Sean Kemp invited me, who is a good friend of mine. So I could easily contact Sean and just get the hook up.
Okay, okay, so once you understand the purpose,
Yes.
okay, okay, that's good.
Hi,
All
Ms.
right.
Bullock.
Hi.
Yes,
So I got my 5 points.
Yeah, you got your 5 points in there.
0.
Excellent, excellent. I can mute right now. I can eat my pizza. I can listen to you.
Ms. Bullitt.
Go ahead, Carol.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to share. Well, I attended Southeast Rotary, yeah, last week and this week. Last week primarily was just about, I think it was women in the business or in the service. So it was a lot to do with women speakers, women getting their props, things like that. It wasn't a usual meeting. So that I didn't do too much. This week, I joined. I was invited by my coworker. That's her branch or arm. And this week they had a TED Talk again. They did not have a regular course of meeting. They had a TED Talk, some guy from YouTube. I don't remember his name though. His topic was really about education and how one size does not fit all. And it was quite an interesting talk, talking about kids and how they learn. And we need to teach more of the arts and those things in school rather than just standardized subject, math, English. We make those subjects so mandatory, but a lot of kids learn better through the arts. And so because we don't have, some schools does not teach those things. And when arts, I'm not just talking about drawing and coloring, I'm talking about real arts like music and theater and things of that nature, and not just playing the recorder, you know what I mean? So that was what they did this week. So she told me to come again next week. Maybe they'll have a standardized meeting, but I found the meeting to be quite interesting. And a lot of them chimed in with that. I have 3 children. My oldest just graduated college, and she's a scholar. She studied marine biology. She's doing her thing. And I have a set of twins. They're 11, and even though they're identical, they learn totally different. Like their personality is different, first of all. And so they learn, and they have different areas of strength in terms of learning and subject areas. So that to me was I'm happy I attended it, even though it wasn't standard. So it made me think of what can I do to help my children learn better or differently if they're struggling, because as parents, I think we, like they say, just harp in on these math, English, social studies, things like that, regular subjects. So it made me think, like, what can I do different? What can I introduce into my kids' life to have them learn differently or learn to their fullest potential to get something? So that was quite interesting.
Okay, so very good, Cara. I'm glad you found it beneficial and helpful in another aspect of your life, and then, you know, making you think outside the box in regards to your children. So again, this is why we want you to become a part of these groups for exposure, to learn new things. And so and then, like I said, also to get your name out there and network. So I'm very pleased that you had some good takeaways, and I'm happy that you are going to go back and learn some more. So very good. You definitely accomplished the purpose of all of this. Okay. And so you did introduce yourself, and you did get the opportunity to network.
Yes, well, my coworker, because I was invited by her, she had to introduce me. So they have, whenever you bring a guest, it's their responsibility to introduce, and then they will talk to you after that. Like all the members or whatever would say hi, introduce themselves, and go that way. But I was
Okay.
not allowed to introduce myself.
Okay, well, good. I hope you met some other great like-minded people who you
Yeah.
can brainstorm with and share ideas.
Yeah, I certainly did. Apparently, some of them I actually already know.
Oh, okay.
So it
Okay.
was quite, yeah.
Yeah,
It was quite interesting though.
Very good, very good. Okay, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
well, Ms. Bullitt?
Yes.
Yes. But I don't know if you remember me emailing you in regards to attending the Toastmasters class. session?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I wasn't able to attend class last week, but I communicating over the internet, email.
Correct. So share with us.
Well, I find the session is really actually it empowers me. It empowered me. That it gave me a different outlook, or how can I say it? Kind of boost me up, and in that it just like now how I'm trying to I'm making some changes in my life, and that session that day was actually right on point because the topic was leveling up. So in that, I've learned what I could actually bring to the table, or
Perhaps do differently or
yes, and in my life,
okay.
or where I was going wrong, and now what I'm gonna do to level up or bring change.
Okay. So very good, because it sounds like a few of you attended the same session. So
Ms.
and
Golden.
yes.
Hi, good afternoon all. The session I'm about to be a part of, they're only online. Do we have to be in person?
No, online is
No, it's
fine.
online.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, online is fine. And I do hope what the ladies have shared so far encourages the remainder of you who have not had the opportunities yet. What Indira said, what Kara said, what Demetria said, I hope that inspires you. It's excellent that Demetria felt empowered. It's excellent that Kara learned something from another aspect, and Indira, she's always participative and sharing information. So I hope that this encourages you and that you all do go out there and find it beneficial, and then get these 5 extra points to help you along in the program. Demetria, you wanted to add something else?
Not really well. Okay, last week, I'm gonna be honest with you. I studied, but I didn't do much because I just recently moved. So all week I was in the process of relocating, and that there. Hello.
Okay, understood.
That
And
there,
sometimes
that was very tedious. Trust me, it was not easy. But I did do, like I say, I put in some reading, and I managed to answer the questions as best as I can.
okay, and that's fine. And that's why we, have different dates, and we give you flexibility to choose which question you want to answer. And the flexibility is there for, whatever works best. Because I know sometimes it is difficult to attend class and work, and then we have home and all the various things. So it's understood, and no problem at all. Just keep the communication lines open and let me know if you need extra assistance and what your struggles are and how we can make this feasible and for everybody, so it'll work for everybody. So we'll try and get to. Sorry,
no, what I was asking, one more thing, with the exam, the 7 essay questions, let me get clear, we have all 7 of them to answer?
Yeah, so you'll have 10 choices. There are 8 chapters in the book. So of course, one will come from each chapter, perhaps 2. Okay, and so you'll go into the exam prepared. Of course, you have already done your homework, so your homework will be one of your 7 essays already. In the review sheet, we're going to discuss the 10 choices. So like I said, once you organize yourself and you keep copies of your research. That's why I said establish your library, especially if you're going to go all the way through the ICA. You don't need to do the same research 3 and 4 times. So establish your library, keep your notes, keep all your papers. And I promise you, you will find it beneficial as you journey throughout the course.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Good. Any of us?
Miss Bullard?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Mhm.
Intermediate is a requirement to taking the ICA?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so anybody read the newspaper this week?
I did.
Good afternoon. Oh,
Oh, sorry, let somebody else speak. Go ahead.
well, actually, I didn't read the newspaper, but in regards to networking, I just want to add that I am a Toastmaster. I've been a part of Toastmasters for 1 year now, and I will be completing my level 1, my last research speech of level 1 this coming Tuesday, October 5th. So I'll send the Zoom meeting link in the chat for those who would like to participate in the meeting to get that part of your percentage out of the way. Thank you.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Mr. Bullock. Ms.
Yeah.
Bullock,
Yeah.
listen, the fountain, I love what I heard, was interested. Is the next meeting on a Tuesday as well?
You mean my meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
It's usually on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock.
Ms. Bullock, I'm finding that this is a struggle right now because the majority of the meetings are either through the day or they are on Tuesdays.
Okay. Are they recorded?
I don't know if they're recorded. I can find out. But what I usually do is I just put in my headphones and work while I listen. And that's the best way I can do it because otherwise I don't have the time for it. I mean, I'm not paying attention 100% of the time, but I just you gotta do what you gotta do. So I
Right.
just usually take my headphones and listen to it and go from there.
Yeah, and one is like a lunch hour. I don't mind. I don't know if you mind sacrificing a part of your lunch hour to attend. Okay, or I can help you with some research online for some other groups to see if they are from, in the evening.
Thank you,
Miss
Ms. Bullock.
Bullard, Miss
Toastmasters,
Bullard,
normally in the evening. Mhm.
Miss Bullard.
Yes.
I could help Kenrick with that because I attended a meeting on Wednesday. He wants to link for Pinnacle because Pinnacle
Yeah.
is every Wednesday. So I
That's-
could help him with that if Wednesdays are more better day than Tuesday for him. I could help him out with that.
That's fine. If you could forward that in the chat.
The link? Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
Shanique, we wanna, again, Shanique is in our network. She's been so gracious to share with us, and we would like to support her as well. And so here is her meeting information in the chat. It's at 6:30. It's October the 5th. Is that a Tuesday? Let's look at the calendar.
Yes, it's
Yeah, it is a
Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
Tuesday. Okay.
Tuesday.
Yeah, so okay, we'll have to go with Indira's, but whomever is available on Tuesday, please go out and support Shanique. And thank you, Shanique, for being so gracious and inviting us. Okay, and I see persons are putting, some persons sent their telephone number to me, but please put the numbers in the chat so that the administrator, who is the administrator? Is it Indira?
No,
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, Michael,
is.
again,
I am, yes.
Michaela said the numbers are there, so thank you so much for adding those persons so they can be a part of the chat.
Sure, no problem. I have a question for Shanique. Shanique, are you in the group? Are you in the WhatsApp group chat?
No, I'm not.
Okay, can you send your number so I can add you and then you'll be able to add the link for your Toastmasters speech.
Okay, we'll do so now.
All right, thank you.
Now, Kenrick, I would probably get this link until Tuesday now, so you gotta bear with me.
If
Good
anybody,
afternoon, all.
if anyone has a link that is in the afternoon,
Yes.
Tuesday, I have another class. That's why I'm unavailable on Tuesday.
No, Tuesday is when she's gonna send me the link
Yes.
for the meeting on Wednesday.
Claro.
So I could send it to you, so anytime Wednesday, right? That's okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, great. Great, and thank you, Indira, for assisting. Monique, you want to say something?
Yes, I have a question. Does the having previously visited a meeting of a Toastmasters be prior to the class, does that count? Or it has
No.
to be a, okay,
No, no.
all right,
Because the whole purpose is we want you to network. So we want you to go out there, meet some new people, introduce yourselves, and come back and share with us.
okay.
Okay? Okay, good. Any newspaper? No?
I
Okay,
have a
so-
newspaper,
I
but
did.
Yes, I
someone
did.
else- I'll let
Okay,
someone else share.
So we'll have two persons share their newspaper clippings, and then we'll go on to chapter 5 and 6. Okay, so I think Patricia, you wanted to share?
Yes, I read about the real estate, situation in China, the Evergrand, I think that's what it's called. And they're calling it, well, Evergrand is China's largest real estate developer. And
Sorry, Patricia, 1 second. Can everybody else mute their mics, please, outside of Patricia? Thank you. Go ahead, Patricia.
okay, Evergrande is one of Chinese largest real estate developer. And they're saying that they probably won't be able to meet one of two of their interest payments this week, because of course they have buried themselves in a lot of debt. And the properties are not being occupied, the apartments that they're building so fast that they're not being occupied. In fact, they have enough apartments to house 90 million people. And unfortunately, the China market is not, well, they're not, I guess they don't have the resources to rent some of these apartments. And they are likening it to the US Lehman Brothers situation a couple of years back. So they said this, well, first of all, Evergrande, they are, because of, well, this is happening obviously because of the pandemic. And they contributed 7% of the GDP of China. So this is going to cause a huge financial downfall in the Chinese market. So I found it very interesting. In fact, I even went and researched about it, because Chinese is supposed to be like the #1 financial country in the world. And to see something like this happening, it really piqued my interest. So that was one of my readings this week. Pardon?
Yeah, because they basically have all the money in debt. They are loaning loads and loads of money to various countries. So it's surprising that right under their noses, something like this is happening. And I wonder why, they just loan us $192 million to build this port. Why would you allow something like this to happen right in your country?
But surprising, the population of China, they aren't able to get renters for these apartments, or maybe these apartments are maybe high level or very expensive apartments.
Right. And that's what I saw, because I saw a documentary on it sometimes last year where they said, with the fintech hub, the technological hub, they expected, corporate China to be able to rent these apartments, and they thought they would have a lot of persons, moving to be in the hub, but then realizing that the hub is online and you could be anywhere in the world. Persons did not necessarily. I did think, out of the corporate district, like in Hong Kong, you didn't need to move. You didn't need to come and they didn't need to build all of these apartments, because people are moving away from brick and mortar, and so companies are not renting anymore. Everybody working from home, and so it's kind of the net effect of all of that. That's what I saw in the documentary. So where real estate would have been very pertinent and there wasn't enough, apartments or to facilitate renters. Now the pandemic has caused all that to switch. People are not necessary. We don't need the brick and mortar. Everybody just living at home. They don't need to live in China, and it's, everything is done online. So they are
And you
feeling the
think that
net
this,
effect of that.
and you really think that this is the future?
Well, you know
On
what
top of
they
companies
said.
not wanting to be to rent.
Of course,
Okay,
I don't see us going back. I think this is the new norm.
interesting.
When you look at one of the biggest issues that companies are expressing is the cost of electricity. So if my lights are, and they saw, the school where my children attend, they saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in electricity in 2020. My light bill, they do a review of what you paid last year versus what you paid this year. My light bill said your light bill has increased 56% from the same time last year. So me and all the other parents experienced that 56% increase. The school, it got that 56% decrease. So why would you not keep your costs down? No toilets are flushing, no water is flowing, nobody drinking water from the fountain. All these, how expensive inventory is, none of that is needed. No, electricity cost is very high. And so I can't see companies insisting, a lot of people are still working from home because they've now transferred the cost. I've seen even one or two companies say, listen, this is online. Google and Amazon has said, we are even going to give you up to $1,000 to buy a desk, a proper chair, and equipment. Stay at home, because that's just how much money we save. Okay, so I don't see us going back. I see this being a new norm, and from a cost aspect.
Good
Okay.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Ebony. I would have touched bases with Miss Bullard, but this will be my first time attending the class. So, hi everyone. I just wanted to comment on what Miss Bullard was just saying, or ask a question based on conversations that I would have had with persons working remotely previously. Since the cost is basically being transferred from the employer to the employee when they work remotely, what is your view on some kind of incentive then to cover that cost that the individuals are incurring?
Okay, so let me just give you an example. I teach a class all the way out Lyford Key, and so they gave me a gas allowance. So of course, immediately they rolled back my gas allowance. Used to be $80. They rolled back. They said, okay, Miss Bullard, you no longer have to drive out Lyford, and so therefore we're reducing your salary by $80. And I said, okay, fine. I don't have to drive to Lyford. However, my air conditioner at home has to now be on for the 3 hours that it takes to teach this class. And so I have had to go back to them and show them, as well as I did the school, I said, see this 56% of increase, this is because my kids are online all day long and they need air conditioning in their room, and I'm teaching and I need air conditioning. So I've said, whilst y'all have taken away my gas allowance, it now needs to be placed with fuel for BEC, and so they have worked with me and they said, okay, we can give you $40, but it's going to have to be a discussion, because they are just happy right now that they're saving so much money. And if the staff does not push, I mean, you do have some companies that are very staff focused and they are having the same experiences the executives are, so they are bringing it to life. But if the staff does not start to have in the huddles or in the suggestion box and say, listen, this has been my experience, some of them will pretend as if they don't even know. Okay, so start to have those discussions and say, you need some type of allowance or some type of compensation, because electricity, this computer has to be on for 8 hours. That's electricity. Okay, and you sit in the air conditioner at work all day, but now the whole office is home. So yeah, air conditioner is off. Mine is on. My toilet is flushing. I'm drinking my own water. All these, I'm saying, so meet us. You may not have to give us the full amount, but meet us halfway. You know, like I say, some companies are going to be proactive, most are going to be reactive. They're going to have to be pushed into that. Okay. Okay. So, but very good discussions, and Patricia, we went all the way to China, so that's good. You know, and again, China is the lender to the world, and so if they are experiencing problems, we'll definitely feel some net effects. So very good article, and thank you for sharing. And again, I hope that you all, you know, this gives you some insight, it gives you some exposure, and you find these discussions beneficial. Okay, so we will go now on to chapters 5 and 6. I hope that some of you had the opportunity to read. Let me just start with a visual. Back when there are 40 recommendations, we all know that. I think I would have discussed and I would have attached, I don't know, I normally send a mutual evaluation agreement out in intermediate, so perhaps you may not have seen it yet. But the CFATF compiled a report, and basically out of the 40 recommendations, we were deficient in 22. And I think I've said that a few times now, so we should all, you know, have that somewhere under wraps. Okay, so the very first recommendation is recommendation 1. And recommendation 1 talks about risk and assessing risk and how countries should deal with risk. Okay, and so there are 3 tiers to risk. Normally, risk is, I guess, calculated at the country level, then at the institution level, and then at the client level. So essentially, your country will have a risk rating, your company will be risk rated, and then your client will be risk rated. So normally, across the board, they are risk rated high, medium, or low. Okay, some companies say, I'm just going to use high and low. Some companies say, I like to use extra high. I don't know what makes you extra high, but I guess they use that for like PEP statuses and what have you. So the very first recommendation 1 says countries must assess their risks, document it, and then put controls in place to mitigate that risk. Okay, so essentially, if countries must do that, then companies must do that. Correct? So every company that is in the financial services sector must assess their risks, submit it to their regulator. Their regulator then will compile statistics and then formulate what a risk assessment looks like on behalf of the entire country. Okay? So where we're at as the Bahamas, and the last time our risk rating was done was in 2015 and 2016, and you can just imagine how deficient that would have been. At 2015 was when the gaming houses were just regulated, so there was little information in there on gaming. Then just in 2019, for the first time, the accountants, the lawyers, and the real estates that have a corporate providers were regulated by the Compliance Commission, so there's no information on there. And again, that was one of the deficient 22 recommendations. And then the credit unions had, I think, a self-regulatory body, and now they report into the central bank, so there were limited information. The NPOs, the nonprofits, we had to update a law, the beneficial owners, CESRA, all sorts of laws we had to implement to satisfy these, these recommendations. Okay, so think back to 2015. Yes, Kendra? Hello?
Ms. Bullard.
Kendra? Yes?
They were, this being the credit unions, they were regulated under the Department of Cooperatives, correct? That which was based on the BAIC, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm not certain, but we termed it as like a, because it was not one of the regulators, like a self-regulatory body or something that they had established.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So they're now regulated by the central bank, which was what one of the fixes that they had to create in the laws. So recommendation 1, document your risk, put controls in place, and mitigate this risk. Okay, and so there's an update sheet that's circulating that the government had put out because the opposition had felt that, we weren't doing all that we could do to get off these various blacklists or get these warnings out the way. And so presently, the update sheet, which was from the prior government, had said our risk assessment has been compiled and it has been submitted as of March 2021. And so, of course, no business wants to be risk rated as high risk. No country wants to be risk rated as high risk. And this is what I have up on the map right now. This is the Basel Committee. They normally risk rate countries. So if I look that's Haiti. So let's look at the legend first. Of course, the green is low, the yellow is medium, and the red is high. So we want to see where we are at on this map. There we go. Okay, and we see we are at 6.46 rating. Okay, but this is a 2014 rating. Okay, and I don't know if I told you all the story about this risk rating, where a lot of countries and a lot of companies, they simply say that we don't do business with high risk countries. And so we tried to bring, I told you the story about our trading desk, right? Where we were paying $100,000 in fees to Switzerland for our trading desk, but the traders are here locally in Nassau. So we were trying to cut costs, and we said, okay, we can bring our trading desk here. We just need to be able to open up a bank account. I told you all that story.
Yes.
Cara? Yeah, okay, so yeah. So essentially, they said we don't do business with high-risk countries. And so we weren't able to open up the account. And to date, we are still paying that $100,000 to Switzerland because we can't get the account open. Okay, because this is a 2014 rating. And so hopefully, when the international regulators, the CFATF, the Basel Committee, all them come together, we are going to either maintain the medium or go lower. But if we go higher, there'll be a lot of ramifications for the Bahamas if we come out with a high country risk rating. Okay, and so I again talked to you all about the initiatives that the governor has put in place. One of the indicators that is causing us to be so high risk is that we are very cash intensive. And so you would see like all the gaming houses and the money services businesses, you would see like the Canadian banks off the top just say we don't do business with them. And they don't do business with them because they don't want their overall institutions rating to be high. And so they just block them out completely. And hence they can't, I think it's just Bank of the Bahamas or two of the local banks that offer them services. And so Canada says, no, we're just gonna cut them out. And so essentially the Bahamas as a country, we can't say we're gonna cut out the money services businesses, we're gonna cut out the gaming. We are going to have to find a way to make them less cash intensive. And so this is what the Bahamas did. We created the sand dollar, which is not cryptocurrency, but it is a digital asset. And so again, as compliance officers, we need to follow the FinTech Hub to learn about these various initiatives and the controls surrounding them and the risks associated with them. So when our institutions are approached, we are ahead of the game. We could say, yes, we know that we can accept the sand dollar. It's not the cryptocurrency that's it's way higher risk. And we have already developed controls because our country needs us to support these initiatives. So globally, we're not, recognized as high risk. And so please, everybody, go out and learn about the sand dollar and what it is and how it works. And so another initiative is that they have strategically to the cash and goes and the Western Unions, which are the money services business, they have rolled it out through there so that they are not, they are less cash intensive. Okay. And so if you see return of currency entirely, you'll understand that as a country, we have to do whatever it takes possible to keep this rating from going to high risk. Another initiative under the Securities Commission, and I don't have a lot of information about this, is the our leverage. And leverage is basically, in securities, when you're trading, you can borrow, double of what you have on your account. And so in countries around the world, our leverage is considered one of the highest. But having that high leverage, it attracts more countries to us, or more persons to do business with us. However, it also causes us to be high risk. And so from a competitive standpoint, it's good because we attract the business. However, we have had to decrease our leverage in order not to be seen as high risk as well. And so our leverage is now still competitive, but the governor has always, the Securities Commission has also reduced the leverage a bit so that it does not contribute to an overall high risk rating. Okay.
When you say leverage, what does that mean?
Again, in securities, when you're trading, if say you have $100 on your account, you're allowed to borrow up to, if your leverage is like 100%, then you're allowed to borrow $100, and you can trade that as well. If your leverage is like 50%, you can borrow $50 and trade that as well. I'm not in the securities world to that extent, but I just know the basics about it. But you can Google to find out more detailed information about it.
No, I mean,
Okay.
I'm talking about, you just said that when they rate us, they look at our leverage.
Yeah. And so around the world, your securities leverage, what do you allow persons to borrow up to when they're trading? So
okay.
around the world, Switzerland has a percentage. Switzerland may say you can borrow up to 200%, whereas the Bahamas is double saying you can borrow up to 400%. And so broker dealers, I don't know if you would have seen around the world, when we increased our leverage, broker dealers popped up applying for licenses left, right, and center, right?
Okay, so our leverage is too high.
Yeah, and so they
okay.
decreased it, but it's still higher than most jurisdictions. So persons are gonna go, traders are gonna go to the jurisdiction where they can borrow the most, or they feel like they could make the most money. But the more risk you take, the more money you make.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but it doesn't necessarily, is not necessarily good for the country. It brought in a lot of revenue. However, the net effect is that internationally we could be penalized, for it. Okay.
Okay.
So you can do some research on it, but that was just one of the initiatives that they decreased our leverage so that, we wouldn't be seen as high risk. Okay. So again, how, of course, no country is going to accept that they are high risk. And we talk about a lot of things, but we cannot explain it. So like I said, we moved from a rules-based approach, which was like a check the box. Do you do this? Yes. Do you do that? No. Do you have A, B, or C? Yes or no. To a risk-based approach where they say, you know what? Document your risk, because countries are different. They offer different products and services. And then put controls in place based on what risk you are susceptible to. Okay. And so when we look at these international regulators, and so this is the Basel Committee, Transparency International also gives a risk rating, but of course they liaise, so it wouldn't be a different rating from what the Basel Committee does. There's a bribery rating as well, and I think it's out of 100, and anything below 45 is considered high risk in regards to bribery. Our rating is about 81%, so we're okay. Then there's a corruption perception index, and that's basically, is your government corrupt? Has anybody been impeached? Has any MPs gone to jail? And so that CPI index is important as well, and Transparency International puts out that that corruption perception index, and all of these contribute to how your country is risk rated. So with the CPI index, let me just give you an example of what can happen. So I paid salaries into Russia. I paid school fees into Madagascar. And one day, a correspondent bank came back and said, these wires have to be stopped. You cannot pay Kendrick's salary this week. And I said, how not? He's waiting for this. You cannot pay Ebony's school fee. I said, but I paid these every week for the last 3 years. And they said, well, we have a new, our recommendations were deficient. We've just updated our laws. And now one part of our update so that our country isn't seen as high risk is that we don't do business with countries that have a corruption perception index that's less than 30. Okay? So of course I said, oh my God. And the Bahamas corruption perception index is 61. So, no, sorry, 64, 65. And so anything below 45 is considered high risk. So they gave like a 15% leeway and they said, we're not gonna do business with any countries that are less than 30. So here it is, I am paying salaries into Russia. Kendrick been to work and now I cannot pay his salary this week. He cannot pay his mortgage. Okay, simply because the country has changed this policy. So corruption perception is very important. And so what did we tell our client? We're sorry, there's nothing we could do. Our correspondent bank no longer does business with this country. And so essentially you lose business or business is closed out. And so they close out the account with us and they go down the road and try and open up a new account and they can't accept it. And now you see that they are shut out of the financial services sector. So they have to find another way. We could pay Kendrick now through Island Luck or, through another entity because he's still on staff and he's still working every day. Okay. The same thing that happened in Madagascar. Ebony was still in college. I can't pay her college fees simply because the country are not putting in the proper AML controls and procedures. They're not following the recommendations. And so, the FATF has found a way, or the IMF or these other regulatory bodies have found a way to lock them out of the financial services sector. And of course, this would affect their economy and their commerce. So they got to do some fixes right away, or you will find that around the world, people are not doing business with that country. Okay. This doesn't only happen because you're not following policy and procedure. Puerto Rico is a U.S. outlying island. And when it was Hurricane Maria, the U.S. did not support them 100%. And so they felt that the mayor was desperate. And, the mayor was all over TV having this discussion against Donald Trump. Donald Trump was clapping back. And, the world was watching this. And so Puerto Rico went from having a corruption perception index of 65 to just being on the list with no number attached for it. So here we were scrambling to find out, can we still do business with Puerto Rico and what's happening? And so it does not have to be that you, do not have the laws in place. It could be that they perceive you to be more corrupt now because you are desperate to get the electricity back on in your country and help your people that have lost their jobs or have been affected by a storm. Okay, and we were in a similar position. So I was watching the corruption perception index after Dorian to find out, people were saying, oh, the prime minister is going to go at any length to get the country back in order, but he was being watched. Will you do business now with a Ben Laden who will say, let me give your country $10 million, or any other unscrupulous person? Will you make laws convenient for, who is it, Peter Nygaard or any millionaire that's going to come in and say, support? You have people to feed, you have an entire island to build back, you have electricity to restore. How are you going to do this without breaking the law? So, people were not very supportive of the initiatives that the government took, but internationally, the Bahamas would have suffered had he made the wrong decision, And so in that aspect, I would hope that persons are more aware of how they lambaste him in the news and what they say based on the decisions that he made. Because like I say, we could have ended up like Puerto Rico and we are so much smaller, and of course they can rebound because they are U.S. country, and if the government only had to change for the situation and the support to change, but we may not be so lucky, as Bahamians. So we want to be cognizant of how all these things tie together and how they work. Okay, so that's corruption perception. Are we clear about corruption perception and how it works? The other day there were bombings in Lebanon, and I had just paid for insurances for a house in Spanish Wells. Now these people live in Spanish Wells. However, they have Lebanese passports, and so when their wires and their information goes out, it doesn't say Spanish Wells, Bahamas, it says Lebanon. And so the bombings were in Lebanon. The Prime Minister of Lebanon did not know what happened, and immediately he got on the TV and he spoke out against Netanyahu, who was the Prime Minister of Israel. Netanyahu just happens to be close buddies with Trump, and so immediately Trump had issued sanctions, and you stop payments into Lebanon, and you do this and you do that. And so I could not pay for insurances in Spanish Wells, Bahamas, simply because a Lebanese passport was attached. Okay, and so that is the net effect when these incidents happen and how it affects countries. Okay, so just an example so you can understand how it all ties in and what could possibly happen. You could still be to work. His house is still there, but he has the money on his account, but it's blocked because the country is now sanctioned. Had nothing to do with him. And then later on, you see the Lebanese Prime Minister apologizing, and they lift some of the restrictions, but eventually the guy got tired and just closed out his account and said, I'm basically gonna have to come for that cash and walk into the bank in Spanish Wells. Walk into the insurance company in Spanish Wells and pay that cash because I can't get a wire sent. It's being blocked. Okay.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes,
Then
go ahead.
When we and I'm just using this as an example, when we drag politicians through what we call bank lane, that is being watched to do ratings like this corrupt rating, when we're saying even on Facebook that these politicians are corrupt. Are we viewed, is that important enough to be viewed at, to be looked at?
Well, the CFATF came in here in 2018 and they said, are Bahamians truly law-abiding citizens, or is something wrong in the legal system? Because how is it that around the world, presidents are being impeached, governors, like I said, in Brazil, they're civil law, so you're guilty until proven innocent. So the governor of Brazil has been, the president, prime minister, whatever they call it, has been impeached. The governor of the Central Bank of Brazil has gone to jail. Money laundering officers and CEOs have been to jail all around the world. Only in the Bahamas, ain't nobody going to jail. No MP being dragged before the court, and every MP that's gone before the court get off. Okay, and then again, like you say, we on Facebook talking about how corrupt the system is and what happened, but nobody being brought before the court. And when they are brought before the court, it's complete foolishness. Like with the Shane Gibson case, the senior police who took the report testifies and is saying in court that the two statements did not match. So I call them back and tell them come and write it over so it could match. And she wasn't reprimanded, she wasn't fined, she wasn't thrown in jail. And so that's what they're looking at. Sorry?
Is she still on the force?
I don't know. But that's what her testimony was, that I took two statements and they put me in charge of taking these statements because I am senior. They didn't just let a junior officer do it. And I saw that Ash wrote something and the other witness wrote something and the two of them conflict. So I tell them, come, write these statements over so they can match. And she testified that in court.
And this is also a reason as to why we were blacklisted, and if these things like still happening to this day, and like proper record keeping and proper statements and everything still happening, wouldn't we get blacklisted again?
Yes, and what happened is, and we get blacklisted for various reasons. So the FATF said, since we are having a problem in the Bahamas with bringing these people before the courts and making sure they serve jail time, we're going to come in and help, hyphenated help the FIU prosecute some of these people, right? So everybody was up in arms about that, but if we didn't let them come in and help with these deficiencies, then we would have been blacklisted. However, the pandemic came. They were supposed to come in May, and they couldn't come anymore because of the pandemic. And so this is why. But I trust you, me. They are gonna come, and when you see they coming in and helping, I'm certain all of these people that are getting slapped on the wrist because of friends, lovers, and family, you'll see some people going to jail. And I always say that only poor people go to jail. Only poor
I have
people
a
go to jail.
question.
Ms. Bullard, a question, Ms. Bullard. Just prior to the elections, I think it was about 3 weeks, there was an international report that basically ostracized the then current government, Free National Movement government, as being the exact replica of the PLP government, which was in the former term. I don't know if you remember that report that came out talking more or less along the lines of corruption as well.
No, I didn't see that one.
Okay. But they basically described that the same nonsense was going on as it was before.
Okay, and again, like I say, you would they are now aware that, first we said, okay, money laundering wasn't on our books as a predicate crime. So if it's not on our books, that means the 21 crimes that fall under money laundering are not getting the money laundering charge. So yes, persons were getting the fraud charge and the bribery charge and the corruption charge, but they weren't getting the heavy charge of money laundering, which should hold a stricter penalty. Okay, so now it's on our books and 21 laws fall under it. And so if you listen to the TV closely, when these people are being dragged before the court, they are now being dragged with corruption and money laundering, fraud and money laundering, bribery and money laundering. Okay. However, some people are going to have to go to jail immediately. The Attorney General said, well, we have prosecuted 83 persons, and that it's growing. So really, they're just trying to increase the number. Has any of those politicians gone to jail? Some of them should have been, and we have some more out on bail now, on both sides of the government. With these unexplained wealth, and so all of this is being watched to see how many people are going to get a slap on the wrist. But I'm telling you, both the Central Bank and the Securities Commission and the Compliance Commission and the Gaming Board, they now all have analytics departments, okay? And so these people are they're building relationship with institutions. They're working on enforcement. They know that we are being watched, and we cannot continuously act as if we are all law abiding. Okay, somebody is gonna have to go to jail. Like I say, mostly it's only poor people that go to jail and pay bills. So if you don't boost up your network and get to know the right people and don't go on the unethical side of the books, you'll find yourself going to jail just to make up the number. Okay, so to be aware, did we watch Dirty Money?
Yes.
Ms. Bullard, for some reason, my system wouldn't allow me to watch season 1, but I did mention that I started watching season 2, episode 1, in regards to the Wells Fargo situation.
Okay.
They could not be a compliance department in Wells Fargo to be worth that much money and to see that 3.5 million accounts were open and there were no signatures that these were fraudulent individuals. 3.5 million accounts.
Boy, Kendrick, I almost dead when I saw that last hit.
Okay, and so it's really real. And guess what, Kendrick? You're talking about Wells Fargo right here in Nassau. We was auditing one of these Fortune 500 companies, and they invited us to they have this big party at the Bahama, and all the staff is dressed up and all the staff has come, and we sat there and they announced who was their salesperson of the year, and guess where the salesperson of the year was out of? Freeport. So nobody in Nassau had met their targets, and how is the person in Freeport exceeding their targets? So when they, sorry?
With all of the economic issues that they're having.
Okay, so we as internal
Hello?
audit, could you mute your mic, please? We as audit sat there and said, Freeport won in sales of the year. And so we thought it very funny. When we got into the office on Monday, we had over 50 persons had said, please, an investigation needs to be done. There's no way Freeport could have won sales of the year. And so what we found in the end of the audit is that these companies are not setting SMART goals. They're not setting realistic targets. The year before, the competitor had let 130 persons go because they did not meet their target. So they hired some of these people who knew that if I don't meet this unrealistic target, I'm going to be fired. And so they had an entire ring in Freeport where you would come in and say you want to increase your credit card limit. No, I only want a $500 increase on my credit card limit. No points are gained by that. So they give you a entirely new credit card. Then if you got a credit card or a loan, whatever you could qualify, they would give you straight up. Some people even got mortgages. And so they give you a line of credit, they give you a credit card, they give you a loan, anything that you could qualify for. So you would pull up Miss Bullett's name, and I have all these loan facilities, and I really only went for a credit card increase. And what they did is 15 days after they opened up their account or whatever it was recorded as sales points. And so before the first payment came around, they would cancel it, but nobody paid attention to the cancellation. So they essentially inflated a customer's account, making it seem as if the customer did indeed get all these products and services when they didn't. In some instances, 1 or 2 loans was kept open and the loan officer was paying the payments themselves. It was crazy what we found. And so basically, that's how that person in Freeport was able to become salesperson of the year. So of course, she resigned immediately and went to the competitor after she found out that somebody tipped off that she was being investigated.
This is
Okay, and this right here,
And
Nassau.
Nan Taylor, Miss Bullet and Nan Taylor help.
She leave. She resigned immediately, but gone right to the competition. So I was
But she
wondering
can
what
get
type
jailed
of
from one night.
diligence.
She can get jailed from one hand. Don't worry.
Yeah, because you,
She can
yeah,
do something stupid again, and she can get catch. Trust me on that.
I always tell people that stealing is a disease. You need rehabilitation for that. Okay,
Exactly.
because you know you have highs and lows, and when you get to a low again, you go off right back. You don't know how to live with that. Okay,
Wow.
so that's a disease. So y'all don't get caught up with that, please. Y'all don't get caught up in that. That's a disease. You're gonna never make it, no matter where you go. Okay, you might beat bunch of stuff, but somebody can catch you. Go ahead.
I was just asking if this was something recent or this was a while back.
Let's see, 218.
That's somewhat recent.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, say, and Crystal says high unrealistic targets create corrupt staff who do anything. Yes. And that's exactly what they do. They become desperate.
Financial institutions do. They give these lenders
Yeah.
these unrealistic targets. And at the end of the day, the lenders, I mean, I'm not excusing wrongdoing, but they have bills to be paid. They want to keep their jobs.
Yep.
Wells Fargo loan was 8 accounts every day, and 8 makes you great.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
Yep. So again, make sure that you're not in these situations. And if you are, blow the whistle and say, listen, when you make, okay, so of course, you set these targets at the beginning of the year. Okay, and we want to set SMART goals, which are specific and realistic and achievable, right? And measurable and timely. And so let's look at the person who would have set the goals for 2020. The pandemic came, we can't have the same goals. You have to look at inflation, you have to look at the economy, you have to look at all these things and tie in. So quarterly, you know, I have made my sales department and credit department, the quarterly, they have to do a review on their targets to make sure these people, you don't make these people thief, you know, and that's the whole purpose. And it had to be changed and wiped out, and we need to think outside the box and find another way of doing things to get through this pandemic. But these people will steal, people around the world losing their jobs. Don't put any type of pressure on anybody. We have to find another way to make money. Okay, and that's what I was saying in every single meeting. You have to make these people teeth. You have to make these people teeth. And we don't want the people being fair that they will lose their job. Revise something. This is why we are management. We must come up with solutions. Okay. Some people was like, oh, I can't change my target. It's a pandemic. Come on. It's a pandemic. You know, I say pull out your BCP, pull out your continuity plan, come out in the event of disaster. Let's start do the stress tests and stuff. Can we survive this? And this is why we have all these tests. So when things happen, what are our reserves? What do we do next? How do we survive? You know, and you would see that a lot of companies just simply could not survive. Okay, because they were already operating in a deficient, you know, in a deficit. And so the pandemic just took them right on. Okay, so some millionaires came out of the pandemic and some people lost everything. This depends on, you know, what side of whether you were in harvest or in seed time. That's how I look at it. Okay, so back to risk, so we understand, and this is the same premise that's passed down to the institution and what's passed down to the client, but just in different categories. So, you know, of course, nobody wants to be high risk, and if the FATF, or sorry, the Basel Committee says Bahamas, you are now high risk, they have to explain to us how. Okay, and this is called methodology. We have a lot of systems in place, but we don't understand how they work and we don't understand methodology. Okay, so the FATF says this is how we are going to risk rate you. The quality of your framework, it will be 65%. Okay, and you see that FATF neutral evaluation report, that's 35% of your rating. You were deficient in 22 of the 40 recommendations. That accounts for 35%. What did you do to fix it? You know, again, corruption and bribery. We giving you a bribery risk matrix. We giving you a Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, 65 and 81. Okay, that's 10%. Financial transparency and standards. The former Prime Minister, he always said it. We are working on transparency and accountability. Did it really happen? They are testing it. You can stand up and say anything, but we are going to test. Public transparency and accountability, political and legal risks. And these are the categories we are going to risk rate your country. And at the end, we are going to give a rating. And this is how we determine if you're high, medium, or low. That's at the country level. At the company level, I've seen the Securities Commission and the central bank send out questionnaires, and they want you to write down what percentage of your business is high risk. If more than 50% of your business is high risk, then you may be overall high risk. If you deal with high risk countries like Venezuela and sanctioned countries like Cuba or whatever, you may be high risk. If you have cash intensive businesses, if you offer account services to the gaming houses and to the money services business, you may be high risk. And so you would see that companies make decisions based on where they feel they can make the most money. So this is where risk appetite comes in. Do we have an appetite for PEPs? Do we have an appetite for high risk countries? Are we going to do business with Russia? Do we have an appetite for countries with a CPI index less than 30? And so they document all of this in their risk appetite. So they may have an appetite for PEPs. However, they have high risk countries. They have correspondent banking. They have, what else? Countries with a corruption perception index less than 30. So they can't take on PEPs because that would take their company overboard. And of course, nobody wants to do enhanced due diligence. Okay? And enhanced due diligence is costly. It requires a whole lot more work. And then you would find a lot of companies and countries saying, we simply don't do business with high-risk companies or high-risk countries. And so therefore, your business is starting to close out, just like how I had to close out that account because the Prime Minister of Lebanon spoke out against Netanyahu, who is the Prime Minister of Israel. And that caused him to have to close out his account. because Trump put in sanctions. Okay? So nothing that he did wrong. Just the country where he was born and the net effect, it fell on him. Okay? So we always want to see what the net effect is and how these things affect us. So of course, when we get to the company level, like I said, we're looking at what percentage of your business is high, medium, or low, what type of products and services that you offer, which type of countries that you deal with. That all falls under appetite. Then we go on to risk rating clients. And so we're looking at what countries they are from, what countries they do business with, what types of products and services they want, and what type of money are they bringing, or the amount of money they are bringing into the institution. So the category is, there's 3 levels, and the categories are a little bit different for each one. Is that clear on the country versus the company versus the client? Hello, are we there? You're there? You're see?
Yes,
It
ma'am.
wasn't
People,
very
you're
clear-
awake.
it wasn't very clear to me.
Yeah. You're listening to me.
We are.
Okay, but so no questions so far. We starting to understand this risk. So when we talk about the risk-based approach, we're talking about the risk assessment, okay, of the company. That's documenting the risks associated with anti-money laundering and terrorist financing and putting controls in place. We're talking about risk rating. Are we high, medium, or low as a country, as a company, or how are our clients? If the majority of your clients are high risk, then overall your company will possibly be high risk. Okay? So risk appetite. Are we going to do business with China? Are we going to do business with Iran or Russia? So we get it threefold: risk appetite, risk assessment, risk rating. Okay? And to protect the institution, there are 3 levels of defense. Okay? And in the first level of defense, we have the frontline staff and the managers. The second level of defense is compliance. The third level of defense is internal audit. Have we seen that implemented in our organizations? Indira, have your hand up, go ahead.
Ms. Bullet, I just have a question. This exam, similar to trust law?
No, trust specifically, a trust is a legal entity, but it
No,
itself.
no, it's a trust, it was a fundamental piece. I trying to do a comparison because I had an exam with trust. It was similar to what you said. We had to choose like these exams, like these questions and write essays. And we had this, it was like the same structure almost. I just trying to understand if that's the same concept
Yeah,
we take.
the structure will probably be the same, but not like the questions, but
the questions are different.
product, the products and services, AML is always, and risk is always associated with the entire organization.
Okay, okay. They're just trying to get understanding. Okay.
Right. Okay. So then it says a risk-based approach is described as risk identification and assessment, risk management and mitigation, documentation of the risk assessment. Okay, implementing a risk-based approach. You want to establish systems, controls, policies, and procedures. You want to carry out customer due diligence. You want to train your staff. Okay, and so you want to have that awareness training of, we could be Wells Fargo. This can happen to us, and these are the controls in place to ensure that it does not happen to us. Okay, when we identify and assess risk, we want to identify the risk. And sometimes we do a SWOT analysis, and that tells us the strengths, the weaknesses, and the opportunities and the threats associated with the products and services and the business. The risk analysis, that's the risk rating form. What percentage of our clients are high, what are low, what are medium, how are our products and services risk rated? Do we are cryptocurrency? Is that high risk or low? Do we have a digital currency? We offer the sand dollar and we offer the cryptocurrency. So the sand dollar is just a digital asset to deal with the cash and sensitivity problem of the country. So that's low risk. Cryptocurrency is high risk. Okay, so we risk rate the products and services and or the probability that an event will occur. Okay. Risk treatment. Do we want to transfer this risk if we identify a risk? There's indemnity insurance on most signatures. So if you are on the signatory list and you're signing on behalf of the company, know that we can eliminate or we can mitigate risk. We cannot eliminate it. And so scammers and hackers are smarter. They can infiltrate the company. What are the controls in place to protect Ms. Bullet, who could sign unlimited? Okay. And so indemnity insurance. If Ms. Bullet was not negligent, she did everything she was supposed to do. However, these people still came in. She can explain herself. They still infiltrated us. What is there to protect her? And indemnity insurance. And across the Securities Commission requires you to have it. So if you're regulated by the Securities Commission, then you're straight. But the banking, in some aspect, banks are required to have it, but not all banks have it. So if you are on that signatory list, you want to check, do we have indemnity insurance? Because I can explain myself when the police come and say, this is the control, this is what the policy states, and this is what I did. However, these people, their whole entire job is to, infiltrate the system, and they were successful. What protects me? Okay? Insurance and what is out there. Okay? And then the book goes on to talk about the various different types of risk: compliance risk, criminal risk, reputational risk, credit risk, legal risk. There's concentration risk. We had accounts. The central bank used to publish it at the back of the guidelines and say, this is, what did they say? Schedule 1 countries, and Schedule 1 countries, the countries that had proper AML controls and laws in place. And that was like the US, Switzerland, Bahamas, Russia, what have you. And then they were Schedule 2 countries, and then Schedule 3 countries. Schedule 3 countries were on the FATF deficiency list. And our sister country, Turks and Caicos, is on that FATF deficiency list. They barely even have a central bank. And so they are blacklisted 100%. Schedule 2 countries, we have some in place, but we are deficient in most of the recommendations, and we're not working towards getting it fixed. So we manage a bank out of the national bank out of Antigua and Barbuda, and we had concentration risk because a lot of companies would not do business with them, and so we had all of their assets. And so our central bank told us that, should the company that I was working for had many issues, and so they said, should you default, then they default and they lose all their money. And so they considered it concentration risk. They had all their eggs in one basket. Find another bank or find an institution, or your country needs to put some AML laws in place to get you off some of these lists, to allow you some more leniency to operate. And so therefore, they told them, take 50% of your money out of that bank and send it somewhere else. Because if that bank defaults, you lose. You default essentially because all your money is there. So they consider that like concentration. Okay? And so that's
which is not listed here, right?
Sorry?
Which is not listed here, right?
When you say not listed here, no, it's not on that list.
Okay, and concentration risk is when you put all of your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Yeah, so you could, if you go invest 100% with that company, if that company defaults, you and that company default. Right?
Okay.
Because you lose all your assets. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and so again, this is just an overview. You can go and do research and get examples on each, and read some more to get the in-depth understanding. So just so we would touch on each aspect, and you would have heard it before, and you can go and do some research if you want more information. Okay? That's good for risk? we have an overview, we understand, we see how these international bodies operate and what they do. No questions, you are very quiet. 25 people, you are very, very quiet.
Can we get a copy of this slide that you're showing?
This is online. Put on the Basel Index. I went on and you know,
Okay.
yeah. Put country, let me see, Basel Index, country risk rating, and it'll show the map. You could click on map, see, AML index, and then map, and then you could click on methodology. And again, as compliance professionals, we are the owners of the risk rating form and for our clients, but we don't understand how it works, okay? And another problem is that the Basel Committee updates their country risk rating each year. If we look at our risk rating say 2007 at the bottom. That means from 2007, nobody updated it. So we never went back to look at these country risk ratings and to see if they changed. And so we using old data and our scoring is off and there's no end user computing. So there's many issues across these risk rating forms. It's an Excel sheet and 6 of us in the department. And so we have 6 versions being sent around the entire department. So all sorts of issues, okay? So they need to be reviewed and checked, and we need to speak knowledgeably to this. On your risk rating, the categories are nationality, where you resident, what types of products and service you want, what type of service industry are you in, where's this information coming from? You should be able to say, we get our nationality and our country ratings from the Basel Committee. We get our CPI index from Transparency International. There's another body out there that risk rates products and services. We use that data. How often are you updated? Annually, we review to ensure that the data is up to date and current. How many copies of this Excel sheet do you have? 1, it's in a centralized place. We have our IT department check it to make sure that the formulas and the scorings are correct and that it's not, the formulas are not transposed and there's end user computing and all of that. And that's how you speak knowledgeably to the methodology. But a lot of times we don't know what's on the back end of these forms. This was always in place. This is how they train us to do it. We don't ask why, we don't ask any questions. We see the 2007 at the bottom of the paper, but we don't believe that this form has not been updated from 2007, because that's above our pay grade. We only here to do the work and collect the pay. Right? Or only Miss Foley feel that way. But not us in this class. Not these 25 good people. We ask questions, we understand, we speak knowledgeably, and we ain't going to jail. None of us. Correct?
No, I ain't going to jail.
Good. Very good.
I can't keep still along.
Oh,
Let's call it
Lord.
as a company and you risking your, assessing your clients, right? That means that the systems in place, you're gonna, how do I know? For instance, I have to have some system in place to be able to identify a customer in Lebanon, let's say. How am I gonna assess him? So I just have to Google it, or there is some system where I could find all this information about individuals.
But your organization should have a risk framework. Yeah. And a part of the risk framework is the risk rating form that asks these questions. And so your account opening package asks these questions. What is your name? Where are you from? Provide your passport number. And so that's where you find out that this person is from Lebanon. Right there at account opening. You don't get these things later. And so once you gather, or first of all, some account opening packages don't ask the right questions. So you don't get the right information. So that's where it starts. Review your account opening package. See if they're asking the right questions to assist you in creating a profile. Once that person would have created a profile, my name is Ms. Bullard. I'm from Lebanon. I deal in diamonds. I live in China. I am part of oil and gas business. My wires will be between $1,000 and $10,000. I expect to send up to 5 wires. That's the profile that's been generated. And so now that profile is to be monitored. Hopefully you have a very savvy system that shoots out reports and monitors this for you. But in some instances, the system can do some things and other things have to be done manually. But we don't even know what has to be done manually. All we know is this all their system information. It's all the information the system has given us, so we know what else to do. No, you have to do it manually, because you are now, and we are going to go on to chapter 6, and we're going to find out what the 5 statutory requirements are. One is monitoring. Okay, once these profiles are established, the persons go outside of these profiles. You are to ask questions. But if you never set the profile up correctly and you don't have the proper information, how do you even identify an unusual transaction? Okay, so anything outside of that profile is now unusual and it should be questioned. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's how it works. And this is how you assess, you know, the risk. What is the probability that this person will money launder or, you know, participate in terrorist financing or cause us reputational risk? That's at onboarding. That's when you risk rate. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So chapter 6 talks about what does it talk about? Statutory requirements and due diligence, right? Customer due diligence on the recommendations, 40 recommendations, from recommendation 10 straight to 24, all deals with customer due diligence. So just that you would know how extensive customer due diligence is in this course, okay, from recommendation 10 to 24. We are required as employees of the financial institution to know your customers. Then you carry out customer due diligence, okay, and that's another question on the exam, you know, where persons feel that they are required to do due diligence. No, we are required to know our customers, okay? And in knowing our customers, there are 5 statutory requirements, and statutory means that it's required by law, okay? And they are identification, monitoring, having an MLRO on staff, training, and record keeping, okay? And so the book talks about identification, which should be very familiar to all of us if we work in the financial services sector. So all of this is done because we want to prevent reputational risk. We want to complement the bank risk management strategy, and we want to preserve the veracity of the banking system, okay, and ensure that compliance is everybody's business. Sorry, somebody saying something?
Oh, that's the engine that was purchased.
Demetria, could you mute your mic, please? And everybody else, could you mute your mic if you're not speaking? Thank you. Okay, so this is the purpose, to, you know, reputational risk, complement the bank's management strategy, and to preserve the veracity of the banking system. This is why compliance is everybody's business. And it can't just be the compliance department, it can't just be the risk department. Everybody has to come together and do their part, okay? And the book says that there are 2, and this is right from the central bank guidelines. There are 2 main constituents of a person's identity, and that's the physical identity, the name, the date of birth, the registration number, which we call perhaps a national insurance number, and then the activity undertaken. What does it mean, activity undertaken? How many, what's the thresholds? How much money you're gonna deposit? What's the frequency? Where's this money gonna go to? Okay, so all of that in, you know, compiling a profile of that person. Okay, in the guidelines, there's some laws that say must and some that say shall. And so I've worked for Canadians and I've worked for Swiss. I would find that the Canadians are more stringent. they follow everything that the guidelines say, they follow everything that the law say. And we still ended up closing down and shutting out, okay, being more conservative. For an example, if the law said to get one piece of ID, Canadians ask for two, because they always put in conditions for human factor, human error, people making mistakes. Whereas the Swiss, they say that law says shall, that isn't a must. And so therefore, if we could get half an ID, we want half an ID or some ID that don't have sufficient information. So that has just been my experience, where one is more conservative and one is more of a risk taker. Okay, and so with these constituents and what is required of a person's identity, of course, you know, we go and get the passport, the proof of address. The law has been expanded now to say 2 forms of communication or contact, so it means an email address and a telephone number. So they were trying to, there's also an ease of doing business rating that we were trying to accommodate. And so they relaxed the requirements a little bit for the ease of doing business. And especially since CRS and FACA had come along, that, you know, now deals with residency. You don't necessarily, you know, well, I guess with the TIN number and for purposes, yeah, you still need the proof of address, but some people relax that because FACA would, and CRS facilitates proof of address. Okay, so again, one of the, you know, there's an account opening form we fill out across the board, industry-wide. The regulators have said account opening packages are 80% efficient. The reason why we ask these customers to fill this out in the event we need to show up in court with these documentation and they are incomplete. My account opening package is 42 pages. There are many clauses that have to be signed. The information is transposed in different areas. There are some places that need the initial, the customer leaves that blank. We as staff members go behind them and fill that in because we know compliance won't open the account if the account opening package is deficient. And so here it is, the customer has one copy and we have one copy. We take them to court. We show up with our copy that's been tampered with, and so we lose our case, okay? And it has happened before. So that's one of the major problems. Another major problem is my name is William, but I use Will, Bob, Robert, but I use for aliases, okay? So full and correct name, you may say that's remedial, but it's a big problem where people have been using, or they call me Sam, the purpose of the account, the nature of the relationship. Another problem is that we ask, when we come to like source of income and source of wealth, we had asked for source of income for low and medium. We are asked for source of wealth for high risk. When we get, say, financials or statements, we do even a job letter. We get a job letter to say that Miss Bullitt makes $1,000 a week. We don't corroborate the information. We let her fill out the form and say she could deposit $5,000. How she could deposit $5,000 if she makes $1,000 a week? We look at the financials. We don't know how to read a balance sheet. And we don't even know if this company is profitable, but we letting them deposit $5 million into our account. Okay, and we just happy for the business. Okay, so that's a big problem now. When you get these job letters, you have to check them, you have to read them, you have to corroborate the information. I had a person approach me early in the year. He was 25 years old. He wanted to open up an account. He had just gotten incorporated, and our minimum requirement is that you are established for at least 2 years. So he brings me a job, not a job letter, but a bank reference letter that says he's been in business for 50 years. Okay. So I say, okay, he's been in business for 50 years, open up the account. But then I look at his age and he's only 25. So how can you possibly be in business for 25, you know, for 50 years and you're only 25 years old? So I sent back a message. Is this your father's business? Did you inherit it? He said no. So then how are you, you know, in business for 50 years? So I did my own investigation. I found that a lot of these bankers and these broker dealers and these upcoming relationship managers, they're buying out the goodwill of companies. And the companies are actually, you know, even giving them their bank accounts because they know that They can't go, they'd have to wait for 2 or 3 years to be able to open up the account. So if you go and buy a goodwill in the established company, now you don't have to go through all this red tape. But because it said 50 years and he was only 25, I questioned that. Again, we must corroborate the information that we receive and not just, oh, they bring the job letter check and put it on file. It must make sense. Michelle Reckley opened an account and said, my government salary is $2,000. She was able to deposit $1.3 million. How? Obviously, somebody didn't pay attention. Okay, so statutory requirement of identification, again, for all of us who work in the financial services sector, full name, 2 means of contacting, date of birth, purpose and nature of the account, your nationality, and I have a big debate over nationality and citizenship. If you all think it means the same, then good. I'm not even going to go into that debate, but just look out for that, because I had somebody who was born in Afghanistan but lived in the US for 30 years. They wanted to say, we shouldn't. I said, let's make this person high risk for at least 1 year to watch the transactions. And they said, no, I'm being too stringent, I'm overdoing it. But I said, most persons, when they move to other countries, they go for a better way of life to help their families back home. So I said, okay, is his mother and father alive? How often do they speak? Do we have children there? And so they say, yeah, he has a wife in Afghanistan. I said, okay, then. So you're trying to tell me that none of this money is going back to Afghanistan. He have a whole wife and he can live in the US and not you know what I mean? So these are the type of questions that you want to ask to ensure that you're making the right decision, because you will get salespersons, they don't want to do the enhanced due diligence. They don't want to do the extra work. A lot of them are on, and this is in the offshore world, a lot of them work on commission. And so if you say school fee time or Christmas time, they want that account open tomorrow, or else when parents pay, they come, they are not being paid. So they are desperate, okay? And so they will do anything to ensure that, they manipulate the information so that it appears that the person is low risk. Okay, so as compliance professionals, we need to look out for all these things to ensure that not every customer is low risk and they are properly assessed. Okay, so after we would have gotten all this information, we looked at the transactions. It makes sense. We corroborate this a money-making company. They can afford to deposit this money. We approve the account. We want to ensure that, some companies are dealing with governments and institutions, and so that requires a little bit more leniency. So the law does allow you 30 days to get in all the relevant information. It has to be certified by an accountant, a teacher, a doctor, certified true and correct. What I've seen happening is that a lot of certifications are coming in different languages, and so I can't read French and Chinese and Mandarin, and so how do I know who the certifier is? And so you want to ensure that each certifier, even like Rodney Monka, he has a JP number. You want to ensure that you could read that JP number and know how to find Rodney Monka and know how to send the FIU and have sufficient information on that certifier. You want to make sure that it's in English. I worked for an institution where they said, Ms. Bullitt, you have to go and learn Spanish. I said, so what about the Russian clients? Should I learn Russian too? No. The regulator isn't going to learn Russian or Spanish, and you do need people on staff who speak those languages if you're going to be effective, but they should be the salespersons and the persons working with the clients. The law requires, this is an English-speaking country, and so everything must be translated in English. So you want to push that back and make sure that persons bring in the information in English, because like I said, the regulator is going to learn Mandarin and Spanish and French, okay? A lot of persons, I have an SDR right now. I called my CEO and I said, hey, do you know Kendrick Minnis? And he said, oh no, never heard of him. I said, but you certified true and correct. His passport copy is, sorry?
That's Mins.
Mins, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Min, I try to not call names because I always get them wrong. Yes, Kendrick Mins, you would have certified and true and correct his passport copies. And he's like, Ms. Bullard, can I come downstairs and see the file? I said, yes, but it's in my custody now. So he said, please let me give you other copies. I said, no, I have to find my SDR. Nobody tell you to certify true correct, and this is a fraudulent document. Okay, that person was being charged with fraud. So be very mindful of when you send these things back as deficiencies. I sent it back. I said the passport isn't certified. He brought it back the same day, and that needed to go into Switzerland. So that should prompt you to say, hey, and then it comes back with his name. He is trying to convince you that yes, he does know Gendry. Okay, so you want to look out for stuff like that, because now I'm filing an SDR. It's a fraudulent document, so now he has implicated himself. You know, and when you find these things, so you have to lock these files away because they disappear, they end up in the shredder, all sorts of stuff happens. So be very careful. Of course, corporate clients, you need memorandums and articles, registered authors and agents, and you want to ensure that they have a good standing as well as the company is in good standing. So one good standing for the registered authors, one good standing for the company itself. The date and commencement of business, the products and service, the location of the principal business. The law used to say 25% shareholders must be identified. And so just like the thresholds, when it's 15,000 and 10,000, they bought 999 and 14,000 with the shareholders. It used to be 25%. So you would see the registers coming in and saying, I own 24% because they didn't want to be verified. And so now they decrease it to 10%. You see the registers coming in and saying I own 85% of the company. And so there's no requirement by law to verify, but to me, that's a red flag. So I always at least do a word check on the second shareholder to make sure that, no funny business. But Ms. Bullock talking too much. I need to make sure you're awake. Indira, you awake? See,
Yes,
Indira,
I
even
am.
Indira asleep.
Yes, I am awake.
You awake. Okay,
Yes.
somebody. Give me some
You was
feedback,
talking-
Indira, and Miss
You was
Knowledge.
talking about that fraudulent, you was talking about that fraudulent document with that man and verify the true and either stamp the true and copy and the documents fraudulent, and now he trying to get it back from you. And then you fill out the suspicious transaction report. Correct?
So I didn't hear the last thing you said.
You then fill out you filling out your suspicious transaction report on this man.
Correct.
The mint guy. Right?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm sleeping.
Okay, good. Okay, Miss Norwich. Miss Norwich there? No? Alicia Moss, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, so give me some feedback on what you know so far on identification.
I'm familiar with the KYC and due diligence process because I assisted our former AML MLRO and compliance officer. So we do thorough checks. I'm familiar with going layer by layer in the companies because you have some organizations that literally would be a shell company and they have shells underneath them. So when I first got into that was a shocker to know that you could have one organization with 3 shell companies. And when you get to the 3rd shell company, that's when you would know what the grit of the company really is. So these 2 chapters I'm familiar with.
Okay, very good. And listen, these people producing these documents left, right, and center. Okay, so you may think that, oh, Ms. Bullock, you're talking about, no, these people create an entire fictitious company. They send the money, they transfer the money all around the world. And so this is why we want to ensure that we onboard properly. We look out for these deficiencies and we make sure that our legal document can stand up in court, which means you have the right name, no aliases. It's spelled out in its entirety. One person we took to court, we said, he was in breach of section 7 to 8 or 7 to 18. And he said, no, I'm not in breach. If you look at your copy, I didn't sign those because I didn't agree with it. So the judge said, well, so Ms. Bullard, why did you all open this account? What could I say? Okay, they opened the account saying that we would get him to sign, or that didn't mean that he didn't agree, because he had to agree, but we still opened the account. Okay, so you want to be aware of things like that. Okay, so that's statutory requirement identification. Seems like we grasp. I don't see any questions coming in, so I'm going to go on to record keeping.
Ms. Bullard.
Again,
Ms. Bullard.
yes.
Okay, this is not a jest. Sorry.
Okay.
I had to fix my mic.
Okay.
I wanted to go back into what you were speaking about when you was talking about persons from high-risk countries and their passports, right? Now, I had an instance where, I don't know if persons are aware, like when you, and let's say, okay, you have a customer who was born in Afghanistan, but they have a US passport. And in the US passport, it says that they were born in Afghanistan. But because they have a US passport, that means they reside there. Do we still treat them differently in terms of the risk rating?
I would watch them because nationality is a condition on our report. On your risk rating, nationality may not be a condition, but that is something that I would check, because they are not a US national, they are US citizen. And that's why I was saying there's a big debate over nationality and citizenship. But my debate is with a foreigner who does not want to, accept that there's a difference. She just wants to say, well, I'm a Bahamian. I said, no, ma'am, you're not a Bahamian. You were not born here and your parents were not born here. You have Bahamian citizenship. And so it's created a big, debate. So you would want to ask those questions. Do you have family back? How often do you see your parents? Are you funding them in any way? And if you are funding them, then your money goes back to Afghanistan, right? And that's a high-risk country. And so I am going to monitor you for the first year to make sure that nothing unscrupulous happens, over your account. Maybe your other conditions make you low risk, but I personally am going to monitor you with all this terrorism going on and this ISIS and this ISIL and all these things. Okay, that's my preference.
Okay,
But,
Vivian, I have a question. What if you were to have, say, a client were to come in and both of their parents, I guess, depending if you do your due diligence and finding it out, but both of their parents aren't born in the Bahamas, but yet they weren't born in the Bahamas either, but they have a Bahamian passport.
That's citizenship. Passport gives you citizenship. It does not give you nationality. That's my view. You are national where your parents are born or where you were born. But like I said, I don't want to get into that debate. And to clearly define the rules, to assess the risk properly, that's the way I am looking at it, or else there is no assessment. That means if you were born in Afghanistan and your parents are from Afghanistan, I am not assessing the risk on Afghanistan because you have a Bahamian passport.
But would that be considered fraud itself in that the
person?
Why I'm asking that, because you hear situations where persons would have purchased passports and they're not actually legitimately went through the process of getting a passport.
Okay, but that's fraud. Then that's fraud.
And would a banking institution or a financial institution be able to pick that up? Will they ever find that out?
But see, again, we follow, and again, this is what I'm saying, okay? You can mitigate risk, you cannot eliminate risk. If the passport is the likeness, and the picture is the likeness, and we certified it, and what have you, then there's nothing else we could do. We follow the policy.
Would WorldCheck be able to pick that up, though, Ms. Bullard?
Yeah, well, WorldCheck has a passport identification system, and so people who work online, they say yes or no, but again, these are man-made systems, and like I said, these scammers are way more smarter than us. I will tell you of an instance where you could be at fault because the UAE tells you, the Dubai and all these places, that our fraud is so high that we do not accept responsibility if you will let a JP or a teacher or an accountant or a doctor certify your information. If there's a UAE citizen, the procedure is that you apply to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court takes 3 months, and then they confirm if that passport is actually legitimate or not. But companies, in the offshore world, the competition is very stiff. They want that account open right away. Nobody's going to wait 3 months, right? So they do that post. In the interim, it only takes one transaction for them to money launder or terrorist finance or do whatever they want to do, because they know it. They have a 3-month window before they are found out, and the Supreme Court come back and say it was fraudulent. Are we taking that risk? Yes, because we want the business. But that's what they tell you. Don't call them and don't call the FIU, because they already have a clause out there telling you that only the Supreme Court could certify their stuff. Now, worldwide, teachers and police officers and notaries certify left, right, and center. But if you had a case coming out of the UAE, you would be at fault if that certification didn't come out of the Supreme Court. Okay? A lot of people don't know that. So it's just, your business and what and then there are some conditions you have to go and read the law exactly, see what has to be certified, and but that's just because we had an incident, we came across that the Supreme Court had to certify, and I think it's especially around trust structures, because they had a lot of fraud regarding trust structures. Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
In terms of the KYCs and the statutory requirement as it relates to identification, and it says, well, I know most of reporting, I think, would have to do with the ultimate beneficial owner being a natural person. And I guess you get identification based on that. But when it comes to a company on the corporate side, ultimate beneficial owner being a country or what they would call a registrable legal entity, how do you, I guess, monitor them if the ultimate or the UBO turns out to be a country like the People's Republic of China or something to that effect? How do you accurately, how can you not say, or how can you justify their business in terms of money exchange and things of that nature? I know you're required to at least list one director, but that a director does not have to be a shareholder.
Okay, so the law calls for, like, you're exactly correct. There has to be a natural person, right? And so on your shareholders registry, for some companies, you may see Bullet and Co. Bullet and Co means Mrs. Bullet and could be Bin Laden. And so this is why they say it has to be a natural person. So you are to go a step further and ask for a nominee agreement, or who are the directors of the shareholders of Bullet and Co. But sometimes we just stop at Bullet and Co and we don't find out. But now it's a law and it's being enforced.
No, I'm saying, sorry, when you go ahead, you go a step further to find out who the natural persons of these companies are.
I understand the question.
End of the day, when you go through all of that, finding out, because let's just say I had a situation where
I understand, because I have government accounts. I understand what you're saying. So yeah, we had Angola of all the places, right? And so there is somebody on the CRS form who is your controlling person, and so that's ultimately who is responsible. And so even though you may be the government, you have a minister of finance, he is responsible. The prime minister is responsible. So whomever your controlling person is listed, and it can be any senior official that you wish to list, that's who is responsible. That's who your natural person is. And then, of course, you will verify the directors and what have you. But that's who is held accountable. So you're allowed, if you look at the CRF form, it allows you to select, is this controlling by ownership or senior official 1 or 2 or what have you. So they ask you the category for which this is the controlling person. And that person is responsible. That answers your question? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's your natural person. But you must not stop until the natural person is identified. Because that person is, if they want to sign, and you know, I've seen so many senior officials step up and say, oh, I'm senior official 1, you know, I am controlling person. You take the ramifications that come along with it. Okay. Okay, good. So record keeping, again, it depends on who your regulator is. Central bank says after account is closed, you must keep it for 5 years. The Securities Commission says after an account is closed, you must keep KYC and transactions for 7 years. So I was regulated by both the Securities Commission and Central Bank, so we just kept everything for 10 years. Because again, you want to put controls in place to ensure that human error and people misfiling stuff and what have you. And so it just depends on your organization. But if you're just a central bank, by all means, you could say 6 or 7 years and then we destroy. And you want to ensure that these records are accessible, they're in good condition, they can stand up in court. Failure, you can get a fine not exceeding $20,000 or up to $100,000 if you're an institution. Okay, so all of us should be familiar with our archiving department and know that, you know, their records are kept and why. Okay, another statutory requirement is training. Each year, AML training is a mandatory requirement. The FIU will put an ad in the papers in January and say subject to section whatever of the act. If your staff complement is not trained by a certain amount of time, you will be charged $10,000 per individual. Okay, so of course, all of us are overworked and underpaid. We don't have time for training. We always miss it. And we need to be more supportive. And so the book goes on to say what is recommended for new employees, which is general information on money laundering, terrorist financing. Of course, everybody should know tipping off and failure to disclose penalties. Then there's specific training for dealing with the public, and then training for account opening officers, again, awareness training to what you should look out for, and then managers, back office and operations staff, special training. Now, in my ICA class a few years back, I had one of the inspectors from the central bank, and she said, Ms. Bullitt, would you believe that we now have to enforce training for the board? I was actually we happened to be auditing a bank during a board meeting. And of course, there's always a pastor on staff to, I guess, say the prayer or keep the peace. I don't know, I told you all the story already. And they were having like a water cooler conversation where she asked him how, just to make conversation, hey, Father so-and-so, how do you manage your PEPs? And he said, PEPs? What is a PEP? Okay. And so, of course, she went back to the central bank and said, many of these boards have persons on it and they don't even know anything about the financial services sector. So hence from that conversation, they updated the board engagement policy, and now the board also has to be trained to ensure that everybody knows, I guess, have awareness of AML and what type of decisions they're making on the financial services sector. Okay, then there's monitoring. After these accounts are open, a profile is established. Hopefully you have a very savvy system to assist you. You are to monitor and go to your institutions and find out, is WorldCheck checking the names every night? A risk assessment is only as good as the day it's been created. So today, Ms. Bullitt is a law-abiding citizen. Ms. Bullitt is even teach the ICA class on intro and intermediate. But the pandemic came, I couldn't feed my family. and now I'm being handcuffed and dragged before the courts, and I money laundered, right? That's how fast it can happen. And so this is why you want to go back and find out. You're checking this bullet name every night or not? Okay. How often is her account reviewed? All those reviews that have piled up and haven't been done for years. And I feel like Ms. Bullet has talked too long. I ain't calling a review. I want to do no review. Go and get those reviews done. Look at those files properly and ensure that the correct profile was established for those customers. Okay. Our very good Pastor Edison Sumner, his company said, you know, let's say they went down to the Scotia Bank, they opened up an account for cryptocurrency, they sent their customers to deposit $100,000 each. So here it is, they have these accounts into the millions. On the profile, it says this account is for cryptocurrency. However, in our institutions, once we check that signature, oh yes, this is Edison Sumner. He's allowed to sign. His signature match. Send this check to buy his BMW. Send this check to take his family on vacation. Send out this check to pay for his gym membership. Okay, is that allowed? Who is wrong as a gatekeeper? Devonia? Devonia Ramsey, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, so as the gatekeeper, should be just checked and made sure that the signature match?
Yes, because signatures, signatures can be fraudulent as well.
Yeah, so okay, after we check the signature match, what should we have done next? Is his name the signature match? He authorized to transact over the account.
I didn't get that.
I said it's his signature, it matched, and he's authorized to transact over the account. Should we send this check down to the auto mall to buy him a BMW?
I would.
You would?
Hold on. If the signatures,
You have to call back and verify that he gave that instruction.
No. Listen, you backtrack. Y'all sleep. Y'all ain't listening to me.
Let's pull it. Repeat
I would say
repeat
run
it
a
again.
check on him to make sure I run a check on him.
No. Listen to the scenario.
Let's get this question.
The account was open for investment purposes. This is not his money.
BMW.
Patricia, Alicia, and Ebony are going to deposit $100,000 to invest in cryptocurrency. Right? And so the profile of the account is that this money is for cryptocurrency, and we should expect money from 10 different persons. So now $5 million in this account. This does not belong to his company. This belongs to Ebony, Patricia, Marika, Devonia.
So why is he getting a new car?
Oh,
why is he even allowed to even come in and try to make this transaction?
How is he even signing checks? Just don't sound like he's.
This is his company's. Okay, listen. This is his company's account. He can go down to the social
funds. He just misusing the funds.
There you go.
No, he's laundering money.
Misusing the funds. He's supposed to buy a car.
Is the BMW an investment? If it's
Okay,
an
so
investment,
the initial transaction is supposed to be buying cryptocurrency. Would he allowed to even buy the cryptocurrency if it was
definitely that's how he opened the profile. That's how he established the profile. And so that was
Buying the BMW is not lying in the transaction. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Why was a wire sent to John Bull to buy a Rolex watch?
Yeah.
And Buju having a concert too. Pay for some tickets to go to Buju. We need to be in the VIP.
Yeah, misuse of funds.
Okay, but are we aware of the profiles? Are we aware? Or do we see that this is at the Edison Sumner's account? He is allowed to sign on it. the signature match?
We should be aware.
Okay, so we should be, but we sent out this wire. We bought him a Rolex watch. We paid for his family to go to Disney World, and we bought him a BMW. Not him specifically. He signed along with the CEO. So he was banned for 10 years from the Securities Commission, and his CEO was banned for life for the misuse of customer funds. Because now Ebony and Devonia and Cassandra looking up at the Scotiabank and saying, how did you all allow this man to run off with our money?
Exactly.
Are y'all accepting that he run off with the money and the money going? No, right? Y'all letting the big Scotiabank, a Fortune 500 company, tell y'all that the money gone?
No, they gotta get my money back. I need to pay it flying away.
There you go. So you could understand the litigation
No.
surrounding this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so that happened right here in the Bahamas. And at the time, he was the president, I think, of the Chamber of Commerce.
So that's a true story.
Sorry? I didn't hear you.
Hold on, Miss Bullard. This is an actual story, right?
That's what I trying to get at.
Go read Tribune242.com.
What? I thought Miss Bullard making this up.
I made up the part about the stuff that he bought. I can't tell you that it was a BMW, but he did buy a car and go on a vacation and some other stuff. Not him, but his CEO bought it, and he signed the second signature that allowed it to happen. So that's why he was only banned for 10 years, because they said the stuff didn't go to him, it went to his CEO. So his CEO was banned, and this was his business partner.
But
so he was banned for life.
And you see now, Miss Bullard, now the government have him hired. How this has happened? How things like this has happened? And
friends, lovers, and family.
And now he hired by the government? Like
he has a network as strong as Bin Laden. Y'all don't be jealous.
This is why we could be blacklisted.
That's why we always on the list.
Why?
Okay,
why
this
is happening?
This is why there was an outcry for Christina Rose from the Securities Commission. You had just banned this person for unscrupulous dealings. And now here it is, you sit on a board with him making decisions, and you are not demanding that he not be given this position. And so, yeah.
I have a question, Ms. Bullard.
Yes?
When a country is blacklisted, seeming that we were blacklisted before, if that was to happen like now, it's seeming that already our country's situations, what kind of state would we be in with like financially with our lending and our income and all of that if we were to be blacklisted right now?
We were just blacklisted last year, sweetie. I mean, let me tell you what happened. Peter Turnquest, like I said, and I think I told you all this, he lashed out at the board after they mistakenly blacklisted us after they made the mistake. Then they promised us that they would let us know so we don't suffer any reputational risk before they blacklist us again. And then when the FIU was supposed to get the help from the FATF, and the FATF wasn't able to come in during the pandemic, the European Union blacklisted us. So essentially the FATF and the OECD said, I'm not going to blacklist y'all anymore. You know, successive government, the other governments and institutions are going to blacklist you. So think about it, it's the same players. So the president of France, the president of Germany, the president of the UK all sit on the same board that make up the European Union. So immediately Netherlands blacklisted us, then Germany blacklisted us, then France blacklisted us, and they said there were various reasons. So when the FATF could not make it in to help the FIU, then they blacklisted us for tax. So there was when we put the tax law in place, we said that it's against the law to, defraud the government against taxes, but we didn't say international governments. So that meant that the government could prosecute you for national insurance, VAT, and customs duty. So then they had to update the law to change it to say international, so that France and Germany and all these other places could, blacklist you. And like I said, in some instances, we were using a staggered approach, because the more laws we put in place, the more it wipes out our financial services sector. So we see that we weren't getting the respect when it comes to blacklisting. We now have a seat at the table, and the Attorney General, Carl Bethel, prior Attorney General, is now the chairman of the FATF. So he has that control, the CFATF, which is Caribbean region. So he now has that control to ensure that we can do a little fix, or we are aware before we are blacklisted. Okay, so that it isn't a very clear, streamlined approach. I know that was a lot what I just said, but did you get the gist of what I said?
Yes, I got a bit, and I read something about Carl Bethel when I was looking into the whole blacklisting situation in 2018, with the statements that he made, and him actually was trying to fight against it, and try to see what he can do and everything. I just didn't know he's still at that post right now, but I did read up a bit on it.
Okay, so there are a lot of factors, to make it make sense, right? And so we use a staggered approach, just like every other country did. Yes, we are negligent, like every other country is, but again, they sit on these bodies, and do they blacklist us because we are the competition? Yes. Are we negligent? Yes. So it's not a streamlined approach, but are they unfair to us because of our size? And do they make decisions for us based on their economies and the benefit of their economy? Yes. And so this is why I say, if we don't have a seat at the table, we won't survive. And so you would see that Kevin Bain is now head of the UN. He is the CFATF, and there's somebody else, another Bahamian out there to help, make everybody making the best decision for their country. They don't care how it affects another country, and especially if that's the competition, they're going to wipe that competition out. So if you are not there to negotiate and say, hey, Bahamas or our size, or this won't work for us, you just simply get left behind, and you get blacklisted when you can't implement. Okay, so I beg you, all of you, the future leaders, your country needs you. We need ethical persons in the government. We need people to go internationally, and Bahamians are very smart. We can do this. We have been trained that we need the foreigner to come in and help us, or the expats are always right, but for the last couple of years, the expats that they've been bringing in have been very disappointing. So we can do this. Okay, so I hope some of you go on in this journey and help the country out. Okay, so we have in the 5 statutory requirements: identification, record keeping, monitoring, training, and now of course we all know the MLRO is, or the MLCO, the money laundering compliance officer, or reporting officer. It's a regulated function. We have to receive suspicious transactions, investigate, report to the FIU. We are the liaison person for the regulators. We must be familiar with law and guidelines, and ensuring that the institution as a whole remains compliant. Okay, there's a big focus on having the right technical skills and interpersonal skills, building relationships, being approachable, not being seen as the police or somebody that the institution is afraid of. You should have an open door policy. You should be approachable. So ICA's focus is on more interpersonal and technical skills. It shouldn't be that you've been there for 20 years, so you next in line, the job belongs to you. If you don't have those people skills and you don't know how to deal with a person, you need that network, because when the credit department comes to you and they need help, you need to be able to call somebody else in credit and say, what are y'all doing down at Fidelity or Scotia? Can you help me with this? Or how do we fix this? You will never have all the answers. You always have to do research, and you always have to make decisions. Document your decision, document the date, because this is a decision I made at this time because this was during the pandemic, and this was the best decision during the pandemic. Because you'll have to refer back and answer to these decisions, and if you don't keep your library or be organized, you will not know why I made the decision. And don't be afraid. you won't know it all. You will make the wrong decision. And don't be afraid to say, I was wrong. I need to do some more research and I have to make some changes. Okay? So after we get the 5 statutory requirements down pat and we know what are required, it goes on to talk about simplified and enhanced due diligence. Simplified due diligence has 2 parts. There are exempted companies, whereas if you're regulated by any of the regulators, you should be, I am Royal Bank, I want to open an account at Scotia. I should be able to walk into the Scotia Bank and say, I'm a regulated company. The regulator has all of my documents on file. I just need to sign a signatory card and let you know what type of account I want. And I don't have to produce KYC because the law does permit where institution A has verified institution B does not need to be verified by any other institution. However, that is not in effect. But some companies do offer exempted accounts. When I was at Royal Bank of Canada, I was Royal Bank Wealth Management, and we had an account with the retail. And when my passport expired, they stopped all the checks. And I was like, Jesus, I asked Royal Bank, and they are very stringent, like I said, very conservative. They say, oh, we don't open exempted accounts. So even though we were Royal Bank Wealth, to go into Royal Bank Retail, they wanted our KYC, they wanted our memorandums and articles of association, all our directors list, all everything that everybody else, and we thought it was a crazy process, but they basically said that, listen, we understand that the regulator has all the information. We understand that you're a Royal Bank, but you're a separate entity. If you want an account at main branch, when you go down to Carmichael, you have to do all of this already if you open an account at Carmichael. And so to me, it was not good customer service, but that is the way they operate. So the law can say what the law states. You can be more stringent than the law. You cannot be less stringent than the law. And so you would see that the Canadian banks, they put more controls in place, which sometimes hamper the ease of doing business, but it's for protection of the institution. Okay, so that's exempted. You have the island lots, them being and the gaming houses being exempted, and you find that people say, oh, we don't do business with y'all at all. So definitely, if you were to open an account, you need to bring everything, and things that ain't even required for us to take on this risk. Okay, so it's really up to the internal policy of the company where you want to establish the account. Simplified due diligence is normally carried out for low risk and medium risk accounts, which really means you still get all the passport. There are mandatory documents without the passport, the proof of address, the CRS and FACA forms. We'll probably do a world check and get a job letter or a reference letter to establish where this money is coming from if you could really afford these thresholds. However, if you are rated high risk, then we will, instead of letting the compliance officer approve you, we carry out enhanced due diligence, and now we let a committee approve you or the board approve you if you are PEP. Then we put various controls in place. We list you as high risk. That's a control. So automatically when we see a high risk account, that means enhanced due diligence has to be carried out. Then document this piece, because this is a popular question that people cannot explain. The differences between simplified and enhanced. And so we label you as high risk. We let the committee approve you versus if you were low or medium, we let the compliance officer approve you. We get source of income for low and medium. We get source of wealth for high risk. We monitor every 3 years and 2 years for low and medium. We monitor annually for high risk. We only complete a world check on low and medium. On high risk, we could complete a world check, LexisNexis, and there's something called a proximal report that we ask our high-risk customers to pay $1,500 for in order to open up the account. And so it goes into their country and they do a complete investigation on them and their family and their company, and they produce this report and they charge $1,500 for it. It's called a proximal report, or we do Google searches on it. Okay, so just the differences, compare and contrast. What would you get if you onboarded a lower medium and you did simplify versus if you did high? Okay, and got enhanced due diligence. Do we see the difference? Very popular question. A lot of people can't explain.
Can you tell me? Can you tell me again? You said work for the enhanced due diligence. You do a world check, a Google check, and what was the other check?
There's a report called a proximal report. Proximal is, yeah. So proximal is tied to Interpol, and they go into your country and they do a full investigation on you and your company, and they provide us with a report. They tell us anytime you were charged, got any litigation, who your mommy is, daddy is, who, if you connected, all sorts of information on your entire life. And they charge $1,500 per person. So if 5 people on that account, 1,500 times 5. Okay?
Okay.
And so that's what we do for simplify versus enhance. Okay? And then if you're a PEP, we allow the board to approve all PEPs. Okay? And a PEP is a politically exposed person. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a question on ICA. Describe a PEP. And persons thought they could come to the central bank. They needed 3,500 words. So I don't know why they thought they could come to the central bank guidelines and just copy it. So a politically exposed person is a close associate, family member, prominent public function, a natural person who is connected, your best friend, or your business partner, anybody domestic or internationally who are part of your life, a child, a parent, a spouse. All of these people are considered politically exposed. And so, of course, we will do enhanced due diligence on you. Of course, we will want that proximal report. I mean, some companies, you know, pay for it and some don't. But the question was centered around being politically exposed and explaining it. And Thomson Reuters World Check wrote an article on it, but helped a lot of the students because it basically said that the definition is different. And so that was the premise of the question. Yeah, so you could go in the book and you could write politically exposed, your sister, your mother, and all these different people. And then if you have the prominent position, like I guess everybody, the commissioner of the police, the defense force, all the permanent secretaries, right? But in this report, it had, you know, concluded that the definition in Mexico versus the UK was different. And so that's how you would have answered that question. Because in Mexico, as well as Russia, they say all civil servants are PEPs. And so they expect you to list those as high and label them as PEPs as well. But of course, in the UK and other countries, I think they stop at the permanent secretary. So when you're dealing with companies or countries, and you're trying to find out status, you cannot say, well, in the Bahamas, our civil servants are not PEP, so we rating them as high. In Mexico, if you have a Mexican client, you are to at least have a condition on file to say, while in the Bahamas, civil servant is not a PEP. In Mexico, it is. And so if we were ever gotten us, received a subpoena from Mexico, we would know that we would have to complete enhanced due diligence quickly and send it to the Mexican government if, we were required to. So you don't want to, I guess nobody wants the entire book of business to be high risk, but you at least have to have the awareness. And if you get subpoenas, you know what you ought to do if this person is a civil servant. In Russia, they could be killed. So you got to be very, very careful, okay, about who you open up accounts for, and ensure that you know your customer is the end result. And like I say, there's a memo to file or indication on the profile that if this was in Mexico, this person is considered a PEP. Okay, and that's all civil servants, right down to people, anybody who works for the government. And another miss that always happens is that in Venezuela, a lot, if you have Venezuelan clients, and these company accounts, 90% of the Venezuelan business is connected to PDVSA. This is the oil company, you know, they have the largest oil reserve in the world. And so primarily everybody is connected to PDVSA, and they do something on behalf of the oil company. And so Venezuela is sanctioned by the US, but those sanctions don't hold up in the Bahamas. The Bahamas has its own sanction list, so we don't have them sanctioned. So a lot of companies have a big Venezuelan book. However, back to my point, each company in Venezuela is a joint venture with the government. They don't allow you to get business licenses for the oil company. So the government is the majority shareholder because the government owns 60% and you only own 40%. So again, that would be considered a PEP account. Okay, so we have to look out for that. And then if we hold, like I said, Angola we had the risk that was an account we had for many years. And we had to tell them, listen, if you all don't come and get this money, we're going to close it out. But they didn't even they had like 4 or 5 government accounts, and they didn't have them listed as PEP. Like, who else signs on these accounts? Not the minister of this and the minister of that. This is a PEP account. Like, come on. And then in these various companies, we had a company open up an account on behalf of the sheik of one of those Middle East countries. That's a PEP account. The money ultimately, who was the ultimate beneficiary of the sheik, right? So you want to dig deeper and make sure that you know exactly who the customer is and who you are doing business with. Or if, like I said, they normally send their accounts or they hire a firm to create a layer to protect them. But again, are you a close associate? No, this is my business partner. Okay, so this is a PEP account. Okay. Most recently, I had somebody say that he is the head of the Drug Enforcement Council, reporting to the Prime Minister. So when I looked at that, I said Drug Enforcement Council reporting to the Prime Minister is real. Yeah, use a PEP. And I got a whole lot of pushback for that. But the mere fact that he reporting to the Prime Minister and you were just a council, like that was a red flag for me. So again, no salesperson wants their portfolio to be primarily high risk because they on the road trying to drum up sales, but administratively they have to do enhanced due diligence, but it's so much work. So that's why they try to avoid it and try to manipulate the data to come across as low risk, because nobody wants to do enhanced due diligence. Okay. Now Ms. Bullock going to sleep. Any questions? You're still there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't heard from S. Alton, Renee, T. Roll. Speak to Ms. Bullock, please. Give Ms. Bullock some feedback.
Miss Bullock.
Yeah, Ms. Bullock going to sleep now. You're going to wake me up. Come on, T. Roll, are you there? Or they just fall right off? Are they there? The T. Roll, are you there?
I'm here, Miss Bullock. This is Renee.
Okay, Renee, give me some feedback.
What exactly would you like the feedback on? I'm following the class. You have a question?
On chapter 6, tell me something about the statutory requirement or simplified or enhanced.
Okay,
tell me the takeaway from it.
Okay, enhanced due diligence is it's the more rigorous check. We have to scrutinize those clients more carefully in comparison to the simplified due diligence process.
Okay, yes, very good. And what would one of the controls be that you put in place for a high-risk client?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Okay, what controls? Give me one control.
Oh, I know you said we mentioned checking them, doing a check, like the world check.
Right, so for the simplified or the low risk, we would just do the world check. For enhanced, we'd probably do a Google search, a world check, proximal report if your company supports that, and
Right,
LexisNexis.
and you mentioned LexisNexis, right?
Yeah. Just to me, LexisNexis gives way more information than, it gives all the company data and details. To me, so it
Yes.
gives way more information. Yeah.
I
Okay, so
recall using LexisNexis one time ago in a former place of employment.
right. Yeah, and so again, you wonder if they ask you, what do you do for enhanced due diligence? A lot of people can't explain it. So I'm just giving you these examples. And like I said, this is a very popular question on the exam. So I want you to be able to make a firm list of the differences between the two.
Ms. Bullard.
Yes.
Just a quick question. The world check is done for both the enhanced and the simplified?
Yes.
Okay.
Normally, I mean, the world check should be the minimum standard for all clients. At onboarding, world check, you should have a system that is checking the names every night. Just like I said, Ms. Bullock could go right after this class and money launder. I could go to Miami and come back and say we spent $500, right? That's evading taxes, right? That's custom taxes. No Bahamian woman is go away and we spent $500, right? So
I spent 3.
yeah. Oh, okay. You go to jail. Right. Right. So all of us evading, we tax evading right then, because we know we spend more than $500 in Miami, just in Walmart alone. So stop it and pay the government what it deserves. Okay. All right. Who else?
Miss Bullard, Miss Bullard.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking you for when I asked you about what system needs to be in place. When we was talking about the corporate clients getting information. Now, World Check is something that every business regulated should have at least.
At minimum, it doesn't have to be World Check. So Thomson Group is out there, and I think they own World Check and they own Definitive and they own a few. So you need to find out what are the monitoring systems that you have in place, because of course we know that monitoring is a statutory requirement. So what do you have on the names and what do you have on the transactions to prompt you to spit a report out and tell you, hey, there's a hit on Patricia. She got arrested last night. There's Ms. Bullard only make $1,000 a month, and she have 1.3 million in the bank. So what reports are there to assist you? And if there are no reports or no savvy system, are you doing it manually and are you aware? Okay, so I would like all of you to go to your institutions and find out about your transaction monitoring system and that it's being manned to protect you. How do we ensure that what happened with Edison Sumner does not happen to us? Okay, some of us are account officers. And like I said, we only check in to make sure the signature match. And 2 people sign, and that's the signature. So send that wire for that BMW. But then here comes Ebony and Devonia and Alicia next week saying, how did you allow my $100,000 to walk out this bank for a BMW? You were being sued because they ain't just saying, okay, fine, Scotiabank, take my money. Correct? So we are the gatekeepers. Okay.
That was my thing, Ms.
Sorry?
Bullock, with that,
Yeah.
right? Wasn't the account officer supposed to be made aware of that transaction taking place? Like, how is it? Big companies, I know, like certain banks have business banking, right? That deal strictly with business portfolios and trust accounts and stuff like that. And each portfolio is assigned an account officer. So how is it when certain transactions come through is not liaised through the account officers?
It is. The account officer normally a post for it to go to, but again, we overworked. We have too many clients. We don't know our client, and then back in the day.
Okay, so this is prime case where you're saying, nah, the poor man is going to jail. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. Because the account officer, being the poor man in this, knows that the purpose of this account being established was for
cryptocurrency or whatever the initial, I guess, establishment was.
No,
But
now remember now, the proper metrics in place. This poor account manager probably have 300 clients.
see, and this is what I'm
I
saying,
don't know,
because they
don't know none of
over
them. Don't know none of them.
different work. Mr. Man have a high prominent, I guess, status in the community.
Correct.
So who are you to tell him he can't take this money?
Or, and he need this new Rolex watch. How dare you? You want to go home?
This too, like we it's sort of like a.
But this is why we now need to be, and remember now, all the laws are now being enforced, and this is why we need to be educated, okay? Now we know that we are required to know our customers. And so we have to go out and say, listen, I need a realistic portfolio. I can't have 500 people. I cannot know 500 people, right? Because some of these accounts have 10 persons on it, right? So the average account officer, depending on how high, medium, or low, seniors should have all the high. They should have about 50 to 75 high-risk clients. Juniors should have 100 low, and perhaps 2 or 3, high risk for practice, because hopefully they will move up to be seniors. And so you have to have proper metrics in place. You need to know that you have 800 clients, so that means you either need 6 or 7 account managers, and that's the only way these people could know. But the proper metrics are not in place. We don't even know how much clients we have, and so we just running around with a chicken without a head, because we simply don't know. In the offshore world, we have everything going to a generic box, and whoever pick up the client file. So we have 10 people working over one file, people moving stuff around. You should have essentially somebody head of the European desk, head of the Asian desk, head of Latin America, because this is how you pick up trends. This is how you pick up patterns. This is how you know that, hey, there's something strange happening in China, and I can look out for this because I have 10 other Chinese clients. But if you have one here, if the structure is not in place, you fail. But if the structure is in place, you have more control. You can spend some time and do reviews. You familiarize yourself with the customers. You build relationships with them, and then you are determined that, or you are able to determine that, hey, this bullet is to cryptocurrency. Where this BMW request coming from? Where's Rolex? Where these Buju tickets coming from? Rather than, yeah, Miss Bullet, you've been to Buju, hey, how it was.
Miss Bullet, I have another question, right? In terms of the credit bureau, right? How they're coming on stream, do you think that'll make a big impact in terms of monitoring politicians and their wealth? And that'll help us. I mean, first of all, do you think the politicians could be a part of it? I mean, I don't know, because sometimes they exclude themselves from these things.
Oh, that's another thing. They always say the lawmakers should be the ones in jail, right? So they put a clause in there that would exempt them from some stuff.
Ms. Bullard, wasn't that one of
Wait, let me just ask, did I answer your question? So sorry, who was asking about the credit bureau? I don't know how effective it's going to be. Years ago, we put in the debt service ratio, and we still have government employees borrowing 90% of their salary, and the debt service ratio is 45, right? And so these rules are really meant for the majority. I know when I was at Commonwealth Bank Loans Department, we had people going home with $2. So I hope it's more effective than the debt service ratio.
Don't talk it, it's still the same. Don't talk it.
Sorry?
I say don't talk it, it's still the same.
Okay. So yes, it'll fall between the cracks and nobody will pay attention. Go ahead, Kendra.
No, I was.
Kendrick, you're going out. I can't hear you.
Wasn't that a recommendation from the IMF?
With the credit bureau?
Yeah.
Perhaps. I'll have to do some research, I guess.
Okay, because I remember that at a presentation, they said that the credit bureau, the infancy stages of it was, when they started really considering it, was 1992. And it wasn't until 2018 that legislation actually came into play. To answer just to chime in on what was said earlier, certain individuals are never going to put things in place that's going to affect them. And that's all I will say.
Agree, the lawmakers need to be the ones that are in jail. 100%. Okay, so very lively discussion. Everybody seems to be aware. And this is why, like I say, watch the dirty money, watch these programs, because sometimes as compliance professionals, we get up in arms and we're so mad, and some people decide how to tax over these things. And if you really know the insides and out, you will fall off your chair. Okay, so please get that awareness training. Know that you can only mitigate risk, you can't eliminate it. And like I say, the way of not going to jail is by being knowledgeable and being able to explain yourself and reporting once you see things that are unscrupulous, and you should be okay. And I wouldn't get up in arms about any of this. I've had many situations and I just be like, okay, what's next? I'm not shocked any longer by this industry and by this country, you know, the things that happen. Okay, if you get to that place, you'll be fine. Okay, so I hope that we understand the statutory requirements. Very popular question: enhance and simplify due diligence. Very, very popular. Report customer due diligence, like I said, and the recommendations from 10 to 24, all of them relate to customer due diligence. We are required to know our customers. You put the proper metrics in place, and you take a year or so and you go through each account, you will get to know them. And you should be okay. And it'll help you too when you do see these wires coming out. And then even though the day is busy, you'll say, hey, those signatures might match, but let me check this company, let me check this profile for this money be going somewhere it isn't supposed to go. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Let me see something in the chat. No? Okay.
Hello?
Hi.
What time does the recording come out on YouTube?
Honestly, I can't say. You have to call Miguel. He is the IT person, so I provided his email and his cell number. So just feel free to reach out to him, and he'd be able to give you all that information.
Okay, thank you.
Could you resend the number again, please?
If you look in the welcome note, let me just try and pull it up.
And his email and our junk mail and stuff.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so you need me to pull up the welcome note so we can get his number, or you have it?
I should have it. I'll look for it in my email.
Okay, great.
Could I also see you after class, please?
See me? Are you taking me just at a lunch day? Where would you like to see me? Starbucks?
If you want to go on the lunch day, yeah.
I just joking. Okay. All right. So I have your number, right? Put your number in the chat. So I don't have to look.
You have it. It's in your email.
Okay, Marika. Okay. Listen, you'll have to excuse me. 25 of y'all in here, and I had to make 10 phone calls. And my other class, they are preparing for their final next week, and I had to call like 15 people from the other class. So I just been calling and answering questions. So y'all excuse me because this has been a very difficult week for me, but nevertheless I made it. I lost a very close friend, and I helped me plan a funeral, and so on the 16th I may possibly have a funeral, and so I know that's our review class. So I want you to start to think about if persons would be available on Thursday for the review class, just so I can attend this funeral and the review class. So next week will be 7 and 8, and then the 16th is supposed to be review. But I'm proposing that we can have a review class on Thursday, which is the 14th, but persons be available from 6 to 9 p.m.
Thursday, what time?
6 to 9 p.m. Would that be possible?
Yes, that's possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and it will be recorded. if persons can't make it. So I thank you all for accommodating that. So I'll continue to make my funeral plans for the 16th. So
Miss Bullard, you said the 16th?
yes.
Okay,
So
I will be.
the class is supposed to be on the 16th. The review class.
Okay. And you want to do it on the 14th?
From 6 to 9 p.m.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that because my grandmother's funeral my grandmother's memorial is supposed to be that day. So I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. All right. So y'all let me know by next week then. So if anybody else has an issue, or so, okay? And I know.
Ms. Bullock.
I think I have a question. Oh,
Yes.
gosh. I died.
Sorry.
Hello, Bullock?
Hi.
Okay, also, is it possible for you to make contact with me, or I could make contact with you over the phone?
Yeah, we spoke already, Demetria.
Yeah, but not on the phone, through email.
You sure? But I must have called somebody else because I sure have you on my list. But that's fine. Well, what's your number? I have your number.
I'm not sure. It should be, I don't know. I can give it to you. 823.
803.
823.
Oh, 823.
1688.
1688. Okay. Y'all ain't mind if I call y'all tomorrow, right?
No,
That's
fine.
That's fine. Okay.
Actually, it's better tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. So let our minds relinquish all of this and let it set in. Okay. So I'll call both of you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or concerns? But do we get the gist of these statutory requirements? We get the gist of customer due diligence. We get the gist of simplified and enhanced.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Okay. You sure? No other questions or concerns?
I probably would reach out to you personally. It's just mostly about the next homework question.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll reach out to you personally about that.
Okay, that's fine.
I would as well, Miss Bullard. This is Ebony.
Okay.
Ms. Bullard, we could hand in the homework question at any time, right?
No, each homework question has a due date, and so you want to ensure that you follow the due date.
What? Oh,
yeah, but last week.
What?
That's confusing.
How is it confusing?
Because
Only one question is required.
Only one is required. Wow. Okay, no, I got the wrong impression last week then.
Did we read? What does it say? Only one is, this is what it says. Only one is required. Let me put it on the screen. You're scaring me. Let me see how I can make this clearer. One second. Because I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. Okay, now my computer won't be stuck. Okay. Okay, it's loading. Oh, sorry, I pulled up intermediate. I want to pull up intro. Okay. Can y'all see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
No, Miss Willett, no, ma'am.
No?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, y'all can see it. Okay. It says, you may complete all questions. However, only one essay should be submitted for a grade. That's the first line. Is that clear, or I need to reword that so that's clear?
Reword that, Miss Willett, please, thanks.
Okay. Only one essay is required. Is that better?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
That's crystal
but,
clear.
Okay, so I need to, anyway, I can figure this out.
Yeah, cause I so confused now.
Crystal
Why are
clear.
you still confused? It says only one essayist should be submitted for a grade.
All I
Okay,
need to know how much
so-
what my score is. That's what I need to know. My score is for that first essay.
Okay, so that's
before I
just
figure this out. Because
what
I
was
want to do a
submitted
next essay.
So what was submitted already is that was it.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, one essay.
Okay.
I done tell
Okay.
you that, Demetria.
Yeah, I know, right? But when I first did that just now, and earlier this morning when earlier this
I just
afternoon
need to
when
know
they
what I
mentioned
score. If I score
when
was
they
7
mentioned
or
they
8,
submit,
then I ain't got to worry about that. No
yeah,
more.
Okay, so Patricia, talk to me. You were saying you confused. Patricia?
Yeah, I seeing this, I understand what it says, but I guess based on what we were talking about last week, but just for clarification. Okay, so for number 1, I can't submit that anymore for grading. The
No.
only 2 I can submit now is 3 and 4 for grading.
Yes.
Okay, okay, I got you. Okay.
Okay, is everybody clear?
Yes, Miss Willett, everybody's clear. We'll discuss that essay later.
yeah.
Okay.
If I could, let me know if I could. If I need to redo, let me know. You want to say to
Please.
redo or not in?
When you send in your essay in Dira, because
I don't send that to you.
for when Friday?
I said not to you from last week. I tell you I was under so much stress because I take it was
And you
an
didn't get
essay
a
due
grade?
every week.
You didn't
see,
get a grade?
I see no
got
grade.
Miss
I just
Miller, I
know
got
the
a
grade so I can
Okay,
know if I
hold
should
on.
do another
1
one.
second. You all don't beat Miss Polita. Hold on.
Because I can give you a little break because you say your friend did. So I
Yeah,
ain't
I
gonna
get
put too
under
much
duress.
pressure on you. Yeah, I
Okay,
ain't gonna put too much
good.
pressure on you like that.
Thank you.
I
Thank
could do
you.
that to you, Miss B. I wouldn't do that to you. That ain't fair.
Thank you, Indira, but I'll get your grade to you by tomorrow.
All right.
Who else
All
did
right.
not? Who
Let me see
submitted
what's
last
happening.
week?
Demetria.
Demetria?
Yes.
I sure I emailed you back. I positive.
No.
And I sure I spoke to you on the phone.
No, you did.
Okay then. Fine. Okay, I get double check. Who else? Just you all two?
Monique, I didn't get a grade either. I was under the impression as same as Indira. I thought that we usual 4, so I hurried and do the first one to get it out to meet the timeline, and then found out.
Exactly. That's all I was doing. That's all I was trying to do that deadline.
Yeah.
And so,
Even understanding what it was.
okay, so you all submitted this on the 24th.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Monique, Demetria, and Indira. Okay. Anybody else? Because I had 11 essays. Anybody else? No. Okay. So ladies, I will
now
look.
Okay.
And my apologies.
I'm looking at the email I got from you, Ms. Bullet. It's saying received, thank you. But I never got anything else. No grade, nothing.
Okay, I know out of the 11, I had to send 6 back and say redo. So let me just look quickly, Demetria, because
I see no redo on my email.
Oh,
I see
Lord.
no redo. But I see
So
something
ours
else,
was,
but I see
that
no
first
redo.
one, ours was rushed because of our misunderstanding.
So if I
Ours
have to
was
redo that, then I
rushed.
have to redo it.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I
Yeah.
put in
So
the
we can
time.
need to know in time.
Yeah, that was just a little rush, little order. If I have to redo it, then I have to redo it. Ain't nothing I can do with that. But I don't do that most. I don't do the hardest part.
Okay. Okay, Demetria. I guess it's because we spoke on something else. I perhaps felt like you were one of the persons I spoke to over the phone. Okay. Nevertheless, I'll get all your grades to you by tomorrow. Indira, Demetria, and Monique. So my apologies.
Okay, no problem,
Okay,
Miss B.
ma'am.
Take it easy.
Nah,
Be
you
good
get me
now,
there.
because I'm going to get my niece some ice cream. So we
Yeah,
finished with
that's
that?
it.
Can I ask a question,
Okay.
please?
Have a nice weekend, guys.
You
You too. Take care. Any other questions or that's it?
Yes, I might have one. That's fine.
Go ahead.
I'm just trying to find out. We spoke about the politically involved persons. I'm just trying to figure out. Do you think whenever they're doing their, let's just say, their enhanced diligence process or whatever, you think that should be public knowledge before they were to enter into, I guess, well, you think, I'm just asking, you think it should be public knowledge? Like it should be.
But it is this disclosure bureau where they say, remember the guy from the KPMG say he had 56 million, then the Aguilar was next and all of that. And so it is public knowledge. Yeah, so they are required to disclose once they are going to pay that $400 to put down their name as a candidate, they must disclose. And so the disclosure bureau is there and all the information was published in the paper.
Okay.
Okay, so look, you could look that up. And if you're the Aguilar said, I think, no, it was KPMG, right? So if that guy is on your books, he said he has 56 million. Make sure 100 million in your bank. Okay, and then you want to be cognizant that sometimes people don't only money launder. Like Brent Simonet, when they ran in, I think 2017, he had said that he had 50 million. 5 years later, when he ran again, he had 150 million. And persons were outraged. Oh, he this and he that. And so he had to declare where he got $100 million from in 5 years. And he was able to bring his mother's will and estate and prove that his mother had died and left him $100 million. And people was mad. Okay, so everybody doesn't money launder. Some people have legitimate ways of making money. And so make sure that you can leave your children 100 million, okay? And look for those disclosures and verify to see what these politicians are holding on your books and keep that. So when you see 5 years into the election, now you're going from 10 million to 100 million. If you don't have that bill, then you must question it, okay? So that's a good source to use.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or concerns? No? Okay, good. So very good. Next week, 7 and 8, peruse the orders. I'm going to bring some slides and everybody who doesn't have 5% will get the opportunity to read it because I've been calling some persons. Tomorrow's the last, next week is the last class before review. And I don't know some of you, so I don't want there to be an issue where, I didn't get my 5% for participation or for attending my civic organization. So please take advantage of the benefits of the class and participate in the last 2 classes. I will also send out a review sheet where I will assign each person to give a contribution to the, probably, so because there's so many of you, put you into groups. So you can look at the review sheet and then start to prepare for the review class, which may be on the 14th, but we'll let you get back to us next week and we'll find out. Okay? So have a wonderful weekend. Take some time to relax and unwind. Feel good, and then we
Don't forget to call me, please.
Yes, tomorrow. Yeah, we have a productive week, and then we'll do this again next week.
Have a blessed day and have my condolences.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.